Oh, we're here somewhere.
We're here somewhere.
We're
Honestly,
backstage.
we're
Push
here.
the buttons here, Simon. Push the buttons.
The buttons. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Whoops.
I know. You changed the music just so I wouldn't do my usual intro
I
because I'm
didn't.
in the
That's
pilot
StreamYard.
spot.
StreamYard have changed the music on us on the countdown there. That was
Let's blame StreamYard. Sure, why not? I'll put my dash away for the moment until the end of the show. Hey, hi Simon.
hello.
Greetings. It's another week. Here we are.
Another
Wait,
hump
no,
day
I didn't mean to
Q&A.
say that yet. See, I hate that. It's this StreamYard, you're trying to click on a star and everything slides up while it's clicking. It's not supposed to do that, but that's kind of
Do
scary.
you know what
Okay.
it is? Bad UX. It's bad UX. The
Bad
star
you
should not be on the panel. It should be next to the panel, so it doesn't go like that. See?
right, right, right. Yeah. Okay.
To be
Doesn't
honest,
matter.
actually, that's something I've got on my list of coding ideas, which was how you deal with like updating a scrolling feed without it jumping around is actually one of the things because it's one of those kind of interesting concepts where Flutter is actually really bad at it, believe it or not.
Hmm.
And technically speaking, scrolling on Flutter is based around a pixel offset.
Yep.
So if you want to adjust things and add things, well, then you need to lay them out or your pixel offset changes and there's complexities around that. We could have a discussion around that. Anyway, before we get completely off topic, we better jump on to the do's and don'ts.
Sure. Let's start with that. Oh, look, we're in a different layout for that. Okay, yeah, you're just steering me all over the place here. I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, whoa. I feel an earthquake. I feel an earthquake coming on, and that's kind of scary here in the Pacific
Special
Northwest right
show.
now. Yes, right. So be nice, be respectful, be constructive while you're interacting here in this chat room. Especially, don't post anything if it's adult or rude or offensive. Don't advertise or promote anything. The only people allowed to promote stuff are people with their face on the screen, and your face is very likely not on the screen unless you're one of us. Don't spam. Don't post the same thing again and again. We do have ban hammers. We will get rid of anything you duplicate. Don't make that a challenge. Please don't. But also, just more particularly, if you post a question, then you post the same question 20 minutes later, you have lost 20 minutes in line because I will delete the first one and mark the second one. So don't do that. Harassment of any kind, not tolerated. Again, we have ban hammers and we take care of our local people here. And do have a good time, though. I mean, we have a great time doing this show.
Definitely
We
have
look
to play.
forward to it as often as we can. Trying to make it every week, but life's been interrupting things recently. But we'll try to get it back on every week schedule. It'll be fun. There we go. Did I do it, Simon? Enough
Yeah,
of
that'll
that.
do it now.
Okay, good.
My name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader, CTO of Dev Angels London. You can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London and also other social medias around that sort of thing. Scott can't be with us today, but we have a Randall. Randall.
It's me. Hi. I am a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert. I've been that for since the very beginning of the program for that particular category. GDEs have been around for like a dozen years or more, but on Dart and Flutter, of course, they didn't start till Dart and Flutter started. So I became one of those right early in the program. What that means is I spend a lot of my time answering questions online and virtually attending presentations at GDGs all over the world. Also, frequently being or trying to be as often as I can in person at events, giving lectures and things like that. But for this show, I have a particular purpose, which is that I am the question magician, which means I am watching in the chat room for your questions to be able to ask them of us. To mark that, be sure you put Q colon in front of your question. That will flag it out, make it easy for me to see, and I can tag it a lot easier. If you don't put Q in front of it, I may ask, is that for us? If it is, remake it with Q. If you don't, it's just you all talking amongst each other, and that's fine too. So that happens all the time. And I'm a full-time Flutter developer, but not full-time employed yet. So there's room to negotiate. I think that's enough for me.
And we also have a Danielle. Danielle,
Hey,
welcome.
I actually get to be on screen for my introduction. Yay.
Yay.
Hey, everybody. I'm Danielle Cox. I'm one of the organizers of the Flutteristas, which is a a group for female and non-binary Flutter enthusiasts. So if you happen to fall into that category and you don't know about us or haven't joined yet, hit me up anytime. We can definitely make sure that happens. And I'm also the Flutter tech lead for a startup called Ardly. So I lead a small team of Flutter developers there. And yeah, so that's me.
Did you hear what we're talking about? We kind of got off a bit off topic there on the intro, but yeah, and I think that scrolling is like one of those things that, you know, it's like you can imagine that you're like a good example is Twitter, the one that comes to mind at least, and that is, you know, you're on your news feed. I think maybe Facebook does this. I don't use Facebook, but you're on your news feed, and then new content is coming in. As you scroll up, that content is still being revealed to you, but as the new content is been downloaded and cached by the app, it's not like pushing your scroll down, and you can still scroll to it, even though it doesn't actually exist, right? And I think there's an interesting concept there in trying to replicate that behavior and showing how you do that kind of thing with Flutter.
I would like that.
Because I know that's one of those interesting problems that people, I think, have a hard time conceptualizing. There's also there's also another one, which is like when you type deep link to content and you're in like some sort of scrolling list like that, what you don't want to do is to load all of the content. So let's say you get deep link to like a post 100 posts ago. What you don't want to do is you want to maybe scroll down to it so the person can scroll back up and go through things since then, let's say. But what you don't want to do is load 100 of these and lay out 100 widgets and images and whatever else on the screen to get to that. And that's another example of where I called it warping. I don't know if there's an official term apart from this, but the idea being that you're basically resetting what your 0 point of reference is on scrolling. And it means that from that point forwards, like, yeah, you get to decide what is visible on screen, what isn't, basically. And you can, so when you do a deep link, you're essentially saying, make my reference point 0 where place 100 is, let's say, and then you go into negative space.
I wonder if it would be possible with a stack over the top of a scrolled interface to detect a hover and forbid scrolling events while it being hovered.
Well, you can do that with hover in what way? Because on mobile you don't get hover, right? But on desktop,
well, I mean, yeah, you're right. But I'm thinking on desktop, yeah, or web, you could like detect being in the area.
What's it called? Mouse? No.
Yeah, it's the listener.
Mouse widget to do that, right? That's hover.
Yeah.
I mean, so I mean, there's lots of things, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this. I think I talked about this with someone else the other day. It's like UI interactions especially when you're like flinging something or moving around, having it be reactive and react to what you're doing is really important, right? Like it's as soon as it feels bad, then that's that. People don't use that, right? Like it really does make a difference in that regard.
Well, it's like the problem that triggered this conversation, which is that StreamYard. For those of you who don't know what StreamYard looks like, we have a scrolling list of the chat up on the right-hand side. And in order to flag your questions for us to answer, I have to hit a star that's in one of the tiles. Well, it's constantly popping up as y'all are talking. And so it's like I try to hit the star and boom, it slid up. And now I'm tapped the next tile, which shows it on the screen because the star is in a different place. So that's why every once in a while we pop up like some random chat. It's because we're trying to hit a star on this moving target. It's like it takes more motor skill than many of us can fathom, I guess.
I just realized we didn't mention in the opening here, in the opener, is that you can't post links in the chat, people. If you try and post links, you do not get the post at all. What you can do, apparently I'm limited to 50 characters and I've got too many. Hang on, let's see if I can.
Hate that when that happens.
Hang on.
I am too many characters.
Let's try that.
I don't just have too many characters.
I'm like now have to like change it. Hang on. Sorry. It's 63 characters. Oh, come on. That's a scrolling message. Why can't I put the scrolling message on there? I think the StreamYard's let me down.
Oh no. No.
Yeah, it is. It says I've got 1,000 characters, but it says I'm limited to 50.
We're switching to Zoom next week. That's it. We're just
Oh no, I see what the problem is. They're idiots. Okay. Let me fix that. 1 second.
because I probably just jinxed it because I said the other guys while we're on a StreamYard show. So something is bound to go bad now. Sorry.
Okay, here we go. There we go.
Computers can hear. Yes.
Got a new banner. So,
yeah. Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I figured that it's about time we had this. So yeah, so if you go to gist.new in your browser, you can post any code, name it like the file main.dart or something. Take the hash from the URL, the hexadecimal hash, pop it into the chat, and we can go look that up. So if you want code review, you want us to look at code, pop it in there, and we can see it that way. If you give us the link, we won't get it. So just the hash.
Yep. Yep.
That's my little
and diddy.
little thing. So sorry.
So Google I/O's coming up. I'm going. Are you going to Google Next also? I'm not going to Next.
I didn't get an invite.
You didn't get an invite to I/O? What?
No.
Not yet. Maybe they're your third tier.
I got one to I/O Connect. So the way they're doing it now, since basically what they've been doing since about just after I think 2023, so COVID, year after COVID, was that they've got the I/O Connect in Europe,
right?
Which is like they're off. So if everyone to come to Google I/O, they realize, oh well, if we set up another end over here and have people go there, it's cheaper.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So basically, I've been invited to go to Google I/O Connect in Berlin.
Right.
But it's not the official event.
So I
Joe
got
was really great when there's some code. I did not know this. I got invited to Google I/O, and on the big screen a couple of years back, they would announce stuff about Flutter. My stuff came up on the big 80-foot screen. The animations I literally did like a month before. I was like, nice. Cool. I made that.
Wow. That must be amazing. That's cool.
It was for the New York Times, one of the New York Times puzzles when they converted some of their things to Flutter. I did that with VGV, and it was just some flame effects on the puzzle and stuff, and it was on the screen, and I was like, I did that.
Yay. It's always fun when your work is recognized. That's very
cool. Knows it, right? That's the thing. I was saying to this, so we did the Flutter London meetup, me and George, last night. We had a turnout, 76 people, 80 people, something like that. The turnout. And it's kind of interesting. We was having a chat with one of the guys that came along, and it was like, he asked, what is my what project am I most proud of? Or what project, what I mean, like that kind of thing, or something along those lines. And I was like, okay, yeah, I was thinking about it. And I actually thought, you know what? I did work on the BBC News app. And when I worked on that, one of the nicest things was when I was commuting, you'd see people using your app. And it's the only project I've been on where that's the case. Yeah. It's really interesting because what would happen is you could literally go, oh, they haven't spotted how to do that. Oh, that's a bug there. That shouldn't be doing that. Out the corner of your eye, And it's that kind of, there's a kind of interesting thing to that because you realize, wow, there's millions of people right now using the product I made, and I can see it in front of you, if that makes sense. And I can imagine
That was one of my excitements when I'd been doing a lot of technical writing and software engineering for companies in the Portland metro area early in my career, that when I broke into doing local cable access, which is them giving us access to equipment for essentially free to produce our own programs, kind of like YouTube, but 20 or 30 years ago, right? So using actual cable channels and using cable boxes, that I could produce things through that system that people would have on their home televisions. And it changed the way I thought about myself in terms of my interaction with the world, because I went, wait, I can put something up as a message that goes out to everybody. And of course, now everybody's got TikTok, so it doesn't really matter. But it was great back then to have access. We had one thing that was called the intertie that allowed all 4 cable systems in the Portland area to come together on a common channel. So you could go out to 110,000 wired homes with one program in a live sense. And it was wonderful to know we were looking at the downstream monitor and it would flip from the previous program to us. And we go, that's us. We're out on 110,000 homes right now. So that was cool.
Yeah. I was when I skated finals in Lake Placid at nationals one year, adult nationals, old people nationals. Yeah, they had it broadcast on one of the public access channels, so like everybody got it. It was pretty cool. But I was gonna say one of the cool things like that with me, Simon, wasn't an actual app. It was back in the late '90s, early 2000s. I was one of the people that helped innovate gift cards, and so it was just really neat to see people doing that. I was the one that did the OLTP on it. So I just, the way I described to people is I was the scorekeeper. My code was what kept track of how much money was on it, whether you could do it or whatever. It's really cool to actually see what you've done at work. It really is cool.
Yeah. Yes. Very nice. Or to see one of my books sitting on a shelf still. That's really weird.
I bet. Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. I saw a post the other day and someone was like, I'm in the library and look at the books I found. It was like Pearl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the books that helped create the interactive web, which created the commercial web, which created the .com boom, which is the reason we're still here talking about it.
Yeah. So, I like that one. The other post I saw, I think it was last week, was someone had asked one of the, like ChatGPT or something, what Matt Carroll's favorite state management, and it very authoritatively stated Riverpod.
No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yes. It's great. Well, it knows. That's how they can judge it's getting smarter by what state management system it recommends.
Well, yeah, but that's not, Matt Carroll doesn't really have a favorite one of those. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's the whole point. Yeah. So the fact that it very authoritatively answered that was just kind of funny.
Yeah, we're up to 8 questions. We could probably start.
I'm happy to start on it.
Let's do it. Let me slide and start my duties here by pushing buttons. Oh, here's a programming question. Is there a way to use a sort key in non-sibling semantics? So I have a custom navigation, a stack, for example. Boy, some of those words I don't even know. Hopefully Simon can parse this.
I have someone that does my accessibility stuff for me. So
if
Verona were here, she would tell me probably, but I don't really know.
I'm not sure how. I'm just trying to think about if I've actually looked at how if custom sorting on semantics. I thought it always used the tree order. I didn't know there was a way of actually resorting it. So, I mean, there are ways of handling that with the focus stuff, which I think is different. But I'm interested, like custom stack for navigation as well. I mean, in this case, Rodrigo, you could
post it to Reddit. You could post it to Reddit or post it to the Discord. Get a better answer than you're going to get in a chat.
No, I think it's just, what I was thinking was like the semantics is coming back from callbacks, and there's no reason why you couldn't like customize that node to do whatever you want. I mean, there's no limitation around like how it's handled. It's up to you you could override that. I don't see any reason why you couldn't. Let's have a quick look at. I mean, we could have a look at this in some coding segments, maybe. It's kind of an interesting concept. Should we put it to one side for the minute and then come back? I'm just having a quick nose around SDK, but I'm trying to think.
And he asked a follow-up question. So maybe this is a different or related question. So how to override? Oh, the same person, but how to override the on-tap hint? I want to have a custom message instead of double tap to activate.
There's a semantic hints override class.
Double tap to, but that's it. Right, on what though? Because there is actually, semantic hints override, and you can override it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's easy then.
You had to return it as part of the semantics hint for the widget, though, right? So No reason why you couldn't do that. We can show you if you want. Put them both to one side. I like that. I like the semantic stuff because we don't talk enough about accessibility and semantics for sure.
We definitely don't. So I'll keep that around as well for replay at the end of the show. I like this question. For a landing page and a Flutter admin app, would you recommend Astro and embedded Flutter or Jasper? So
for landing page, Jasper.
Yeah, Jasper's going to load a lot faster, and it'll also give you SEO for the landing page, the pre-login page.
The Flutter admin app, would just be.
The Flutter app could be embedded, so you could actually have the best of both worlds, where you can navigate around on the front page.
I was going to say, I think the problem here is you're saying Astro plus Flutter embedded. Why not Jasper plus Flutter embedded? Right, embedded Flutter.
Yeah. So I think that would be the choice I'd use. I don't remember what Astro is other than a dog.
Astro is a JavaScript framework for building websites.
Oh, okay, great. I don't care too much about that. That's all I know. It's a dog and a local gas station chain that I worked for at one point. Right. To write code, not to pump gas. I didn't pump gas there. I wrote code. All right. Let's move on. Why did the Flutter?
I've got to say this. I'm on the Astro website. It says the website framework for content-driven websites. What websites are not content-driven?
The website for sites that don't really matter.
It literally says for fast marketing, sites, blogs, e-commerce websites, and more. It's like a website that isn't content-driven. I'm like, well, what is that?
what else is left?
I guess that. I mean, do they mean like a web app that isn't got content? Then that you're like is more functional.
It's still ultimately you're interacting with some content. Really,
I just love that. It's an interesting marketing tagline they've got there. Anyway.
Content-driven written word sites.
Right. Yes,
mostly in English. In English.
Jasper for sure. And you know what? You could just keep your Flutter app separate. I would probably do something like have Jasper used on your landing page, like www.myapp.com or whatever, and then have admin.myapp.com subdomain be your Flutter web app, and then you can deploy your Flutter web app separate to your landing page. There's no need to have any weird embedding stuff or have to deal with any of that. Just have two separate domains. And when you click on like the login button or control panel button on your landing page, it takes you to the subdomain. Job done.
Speaking of which, about Jasper, since you brought that up, or since we brought that up, Jasper is now being used on Flutter.dev. So it's now part of the official repertoire of tools. It's only for one page. It's only for the, if you know the Flutter download versions page. Instead of that being done by some JavaScript calculations, that code is now written in Dart, compiled with Flutter, and spewed out. But now we've started making the transition to using Jasper as our programming language so we're eating our own dog food. Thank you to all the people that made that possible. Killian and the group.
I know this was like a PR that came in and like they thought about it and they merged it and they've gone for it. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't read up enough to know if it is a case that they're going to replace the sites. But I honestly, if they were to do pub.dev in Jasper and to do dart.dev in Jasper and like flutter.dev websites in Jasper, I'm literally saying that this is the way to go, right?
Yes.
They need to own that. That really is.
I think that's the goal. And I think this was the first sort of test case to put their toe in the water, to kind of make sure they could have the infrastructure around Jasper built into the build system for the dev sites. So I think it's just a matter now of having people do the work of converting weird JavaScript into Dart so that you can program it in a much saner language. Yeah.
Yeah, and also support WASM, right? Oh, hang a minute. I have a blurb in here.
Okay.
Hey.
You have a backlit Thomas. He's in a witness protection program in a secret location.
Yes, exactly, in a secret location. I'm in Medellin in Colombia at the moment.
Give that away.
Make us jealous. How warm is it there?
Yeah, it is. It's really nice.
I can bet. I'm very jealous.
I had to flee German winter. So I had to come here and visit Mark and Scott, you know.
Yep.
So
Yes.
Cool.
yeah, so we're going to crack on. With, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, Thomas, a bit more. Like
You should.
for those people that don't know who Thomas is.
I should introduce myself.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm actually already quite long in the Flutter community. Started with the beta of Flutter and probably most infamous for my package Get It, and some other packages that I maintain, watch it, Flutter command, stuff like this. Work as a freelancer and enjoy being part of the community, and really cool seeing you here.
Oh, you're most welcome. What's this?
Actually, I just in half an hour ago, I published my new article on Flutter architecture.
Wait, where's the link? Put the link in the private chat.
Yes.
Perfect way to get your blog post seen.
Right.
Cool.
What's wrong? Something is wrong.
Well, all right. As you do that, we'll crack on with a few more questions coming through.
Yeah, do.
And
okay.
We'll share your content as it comes through.
Why did the Flutter team discontinue 7 packages? Did they first reach out to the Flutter community from industry? They are reaching out to the community. This is the phase for that. So what they said is, we, as of some future date, are discontinuing our support of this. We would like to see these taken over by the community. So this is that phase. Don't worry about it. It's not, and they're not really disappearing. They're not disappearing off the pub. It's not like they're going away. In fact, the current versions will be around forever because that's the way the pub works. But no, they are seeking people for these packages if they want to get picked.
They're not going to be maintaining them anymore.
Yeah, it's just they're as of a future date.
As of a future date,
that date yet.
In fact, if you actually look at the announcement specifically says
April 30th. That's a ways away.
Right, and the announcement right there says that if we're interested
in collaborating,
it's in the announcement. If people just have paid attention, right?
Yeah.
I think so. So they did speak to people in the community, and packages have been, but also people like look at discontinuous, like hasn't received any updates. It'll getting minor updates or whatever else. It's like sure, like. I don't know. Like yes, some of these will probably be transitioning to the community at large. But yeah,
yes. Who knows?
Yeah, see where it goes.
Now, is there a way they can do that where the same package we keep maintaining the same package, or is it going to be like a plus package like we've done on some other things?
So this is yes. So this is really the problem. So the reason why that was my hope is that the original package get pulled over. That would be my hope because. There's no reason why it can't keep that legacy. There's no reason why that can't change. I think the real problem is it's more about like a legal requirements and all that other kind of big corporate stuff that goes into it, which is more about ownership and IP and all that kind of stuff, which changes what it means. But we'll see.
Yep.
Okay. And how does Go Router fit into all this, since it wasn't one of those 7, but it's also been mentioned that
Go Router is just feature complete. Bugs will still be fixed if there are bugs being reported, but they're not going to spend a lot of time implementing new features. That's all.
Yeah, and it says that.
I also think it's really a question of that the team needs to focus on some aspects. Because if you think the scope that Flutter is covering has grown over the years more and more with more platforms, with nothing. So I found it quite reasonable to make a closer observation which packages are really worth that the core team is maintaining them, or if they try to find someone else.
The real. I mean, they had this before when they did the plus packages. It was the same similar thing. Maybe it was just handled differently back then. But the real thing is, it's like you've got ever-growing. I mean, it's the same thing. You've got ever-growing features and packages and everything else. with a same set of people, a limited set of people. It's like you can't. You're just spreading yourself too thin. So it allows you. So by doing this, it allows them to concentrate on what actually makes the difference to the most people.
And we discussed this a little bit last week, but the packages they picked are kind of specifically they're picking because these are packages that aren't really that dependent on.
I actually feel like there's actually some stuff in there that's really good, but I actually think that the Flutter image stuff, which has got the exponential backoff logic and things like that, should just go into the main Flutter repository, like the retry package.
Yeah.
The retry package.
Why do we need a package for it?
Well, no, but this is what I was going to say. So for those that don't know what I'm talking about, and why don't I bring it up on here? So Flutter from day one has had this package called, is it Flutter? I think it's Flutter image, right? This is the one of the discontinued ones, and it had this network image with retry. This
just one function.
Yeah. Now it's basically that, right? And the whole idea was that the actual framework doesn't retry image requests. It just failed, and that's it. It's failed.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, well, this is put to me. If it was Flutter, I always assumed this was put out there, try out the feature, see what people like, and if it's great, we'll add it into the main Flutter. Add this.
Exactly.
Why is this not part of the main repository? Like, it doesn't have to be this. Just add a retry parameter to the current image provider.
But it seems actually not a real big issue, because I mean, in our whole app we don't have a retry for images. And
yeah, but the problem here is, Thomas, it's not really about that. It's the problem is that people use cached network image and other libraries because the Flutter one is so incapable.
Oh yeah, right, true. But
that's really the problem.
Does cache network images do retries? I don't think so. They do?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Not sure.
But the point here is that maybe I forget that Octo does. I think Octo is the replacement. But anyway, the point here being more about the fact that it's always been a problem, and I'm like maybe the community at large has just been like overlooking it and not pushing pressure onto Flutter, like raising an issue ticket. The problem is that this is another thing, right? When you've got an issue that is conceptually about, it's not like a bug, right? It's not like, oh, there's an error, it crashes here. No, this is, we're not happy with the way images work. What can we rethink the way that we handle images and caching of images? And there's always been a problem. How is it not being addressed in the framework? If you're going to do network images, because it's two images, all the examples I just throw like image.network in there. But it's so poor. It downloads every single time you display that widget, basically. If it's not in the image cache already, boom, that's it. You in that session. So yeah, I'd say that's a problem. Anyway, for those that actually want to do retrying, I will recommend the other package, Retry. So Retry is owned by Google, but not official package, google.dev. This actually has the same logic in it, but what's really nice is it just retries a future. So what this allows you to do is you can retry anything. This allows you to put exponential backoff and retries and lots of ways of configuring it on lots of retry options, and you configure it on any feature, which actually is more flexible.
We should do that in some coding somewhere. That'll be fun.
Oh, you've not seen this package before?
I've never seen this before. This is great. This is news to me. I tell you, every week I do this show, I learn like at least 2 or 3 new things. Thank you, Simon. This is really insane.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I will say, in the 7 packages that are being discontinued, or 6 or whatever it is, the one I'm most concerned about is Flutter Adaptive Scaffold, only because I've told tons of people to use it. And
it's another example of why is that not part of the framework?
Yeah,
part of the material library.
Because if it was, they couldn't discontinue it.
Well, but the point I'm making is I get like it's the same thing of like there's an expectation of base functionality, and it is an area that Flutter I think this kind of goes into maybe there's a layered system here, right? In terms of Flutter itself is great at that base level, right? It does rendering really well. It does the widgets really well. It's got very well hardened testing, sort of framework around input and everything else at that layer. Then you have like the material widgets on top, and you've got Cupertino, and you've got some other bits on top that kind of extend that behavior into very specific areas. What you don't see there, though, is like responsive layout. We get these questions. I mean, all four of us have got these questions all the time. How do I do responsive layout? How do I do this? And it's like, where are the adaptive scaffolders, that kind of thing? It's like, where is the widgets? Where are the ways that we do adaptive responsive UIs? This should be it may not have to be in the Flutter repo itself, but it should definitely be a Flutter owned package.
Yes,
That
that's
at
true.
least has, here's our opinionated way of doing this. Go off and do whatever you want, but here's the way to do it for beginners and stuff, because it's that kind of, as soon as you get a basic thing working, it's getting that next level. You can't get to it. It's super difficult. There's such a big like stepping stone getting there.
Yeah.
I think the problem is with that package.
They could have an official layout package, for example, where stuff like this is in, This would make sense.
Yeah, I think the problem with Flutter Adaptive Scaffold is it always only felt 80% done. The UX is a little rough, trying to figure out how to push things in the right place and what to do for all the variations. There weren't enough examples of crazy ways you could use it. But the great thing is, out of the box, it handled the 90% case, which is, depending on my width, I either want bottom nav, side nav with just icons, or side nav with icons and labels, and allowed you to specify the nav in one spot, and it would just push it around to the right locations. That was nice. That handled most of what people wanted from adaptive sizing. Most, not a lot.
I look at this,
and also one column versus two kind of thing.
I mean, look at this API. You can see why it's been. First of all, it's massive, right?
Yeah.
This should be like a list of breakpoints, right? Not a series of breakpoint parameters in these very specifically.
Right.
Yeah. Right, and equally, the reason why this exists and not just like a separate widget that does the adapters, because again, about the way that the material widgets kind of work together. It's the whole idea of that whole, to me, it's been a massive problem since day one, with the fact that Scaffold takes an app bar that has to be a preferred size widget. Like what?
I mean, my explanation why actually this is not a bigger issue is just that if you look on the absolute numbers where apps are running, I mean, the overall the absolute majority is just running on phones, So really the need for this package is not as big as some people say, It would be absolutely nice to have it, but I understand why this is not something high priority.
I get that, but I'm also going to disagree.
Okay.
Just a key point here, not necessarily disagree, just to change it a bit. So in terms of Flutter was directed towards mobile development at the beginning, which is why it has the most impact on mobile, right? However, the stores like iOS now require you to have iPad compatibility in a bunch of places, right?
Oh, they require it?
They're getting to that now, right? Like if you're going to release an app, it has to be if you support. Oh, there was some stuff, right? Anyway, they've been changing stuff around, like the requirements for iPad and using that, and it kind of gets to this point of also now that we're targeting desktop and web, responsive is required, right?
Absolutely.
So it becomes this thing now of responsive design. Has been first party on Android for a long time, but now it becomes first party across platform, right?
Okay, maybe another point of view might be that you already, just by looking at this example, you pointed out flaws that you would do differently. Maybe the real reason is that the way it's currently done is just not how it would be good for us. So we need a better package for it.
I mean, here's the thing. Okay, question for you. If they did an announcement, let's say they did like the Flutter in production not too long ago. Let's say they did some announcement and they're like, here's this adaptive schema that we come up with, all this cool stuff. Do you think that would excite the developer audience? I think no.
Yeah.
No?
I mean,
You don't think,
on,
like, there's a lot of people that are fighting with responsive design and everything about how to do it. So you don't think if they came out with like a package and said, okay, there's this cool thing that we've done that we're supporting, here's also responsive design stuff.
You're talking to people that use auto-size text. There's really no return from there.
No, but that's the point. Like, they need to do that to show how it's important. To show people there's a reason why you're doing it this way than other ways, right?
Yeah.
But this is the one side, and the other side. If I just think of our current project, how much custom layout logic we have in there, yeah. So the thing is, the moment you have some serious project and you have some developers who know what they're doing, they will implement their own stuff anyway at this point. So it's really a little bit.
The use
Where's
case,
the market fit for this?
It's more about Thomas. I think for me, the thing about it, I totally agree with you. First of all, yes, whenever you're doing something, you have to do it yourself. Like, you can't just take something off the shelf and use it. And I've said that on here so many times that there's a point that if you're fighting with the material design widgets, that's the time when you go, I need my own custom like render object or my own custom layout or whatever it might be to do that. What's this? Yeah, flip phones and foldables. Yeah. It's really important as well. It's one of the reasons why they actually added that as part of the framework now. So the support for that kind of stuff. What the hell was I saying before that? Shit.
I don't know. Sorry.
I was actually going to jump in on that. I was going to type it, but real quick, I just want to say I am astonished at the number of apps that if I open them up here and I close it, it says, "Oh, we've got to restart the app. We can't handle it."
Oh,
Those aren't Flutter apps.
It's the classic. It is the classic. Do you know what that is, Danielle? On Android, what used to happen, and I know exactly why that's happening, by the way. And so on Android, what used to happen in version 2, way back when, was that rotation would always restart the activity, right?
Wow.
So what would happen was your whole app would restart when the phone was rotated because something had changed. And they added the ability to like say, no, I accept configuration changes, and you would list them. But basically, in your activity, you have to list all of them, and when they start adding new ones like unfold and fold, you have to list them in there. Otherwise, it will restart the activity. And it's basically that. It's that kind of thing. Of no one's been made aware of it. It should be. The whole API should be reversed. It should be like, we accept everything now.
Yeah.
And if you don't accept it, add it into the list, and then we'll send you we'll do it different. We'll restart.
Sure.
But again, we are I mean, we are at a point where you really have to see, okay, how big is the market for it? Because I mean, the whole foldables, they're still not really the default phone. Yeah, I mean, and most companies gave up on the foldable stuff. So yeah. I mean, remember, especially if, John was from Microsoft was pushing for this because the Microsoft phone, the foldable. Yeah, I forgot the name of it. It discontinued. So yeah,
I think it's Microsoft Duo. I mean, the thing is, like, I think it's a case of there is room for that, and I think it's still going to be a thing, but it has its use cases. The same as like tablet. When tablet first came out, there was a whole thing. It's like there is reason to use a tablet, but
absolutely. I just meant it makes clear why there's no, why the demand is not so strong behind this. Yeah.
All right, we should get back to questions.
Share the link to my article. That would be fine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Let me post that.
I was not allowed to post it.
Yeah. Let me. Here we go.
Special people.
Thomas's link is in the chat for anyone that wants to read Thomas's article on practical Flutter architecture. Just what everyone wants.
Wow.
Exactly. The last word on this topic.
Yep. All right. So, we still have like 9 questions to get through, so we should.
Let's get back to questions. Remember, people, put your question if you want a question for everyone, or you want to mention something to the screen, put Q in front of it.
Just like Masha did, which is the Dart formatter mentioned in 329 release the same as the massive refactoring? Yes, it is. So the answer is yes. That was quick.
Well, no. Hang a minute. Release the same as the massive. Well, no. No. There was 2 bits of refactoring that took place. So to be clear about this, the one that happened in December was then merging the engine into the Flutter repository.
It's two,
right?
two
So now we have one
right,
repository
two.
which contains the Flutter engine and the Flutter framework as one repository. There are two separate repositories tagged separately, and there's challenges about doing that. Now it's a big monorepo. That was one big massive refactor that took place. They had to land, and then they did the code change, and they did the reformatting change, and then they reformatted the entire repo. So now this is a big contention point across Flutter's history for a while. The Dart style guides and the formatting guides, they did not obey them themselves, right? So now that they do, now they brought everything into alignment. So this is really good for everyone.
Do Dart and Flutter now agree on the that?
They have different style guides, but they actually apply the style guides properly. If that makes sense, like the formatting and everything else.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
Right.
For sure.
All right. Moving on. How can I counter the argument that native state management, like value notifier, change notifier, is better because third-party packages may be discontinued? Well, it's not going away, even if it's discontinued. It just means nobody's supporting it.
And I would actually say that it's quite possible in a lot of cases that the native state management is better, but that's not the reason why.
Yeah, I was going to say. But how can I counter the argument? So basically, someone's arguing that the inbuilt stuff is better than the. So basically, you're saying you want to use like Riverpod, and someone else is saying they want to use Value Notifier.
Right.
And they're
saying they want to use it. Yeah.
It's the wrong discussion.
No. But they're saying I don't want to use Riverpod because it might be discontinued.
Yeah, it's completely the wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong argument.
I mean, the thing is, that's the point of open source. I mean, you always have the risk, but you have always the possibility to fork if someone is working on it.
Okay, to the questioner here, I'll give the counter argument. We can fork the package, and then it's no longer discontinued, and we can do whatever we want with it because it's open source.
Yeah. We've seen this. We have seen this. With,
I'm going to say, sorry. There's just another point to this, which is we just saw Flutter discontinue stuff. They might take out change notify. They might take out value notify. In fact, they might refactor the whole thing. Who cares? It's the future. Like, you can't predict the future. Like, that's the wrong.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I mean, look at the Hive project that was about them for quite some time now. Community has forked it and started working on it again. Yeah.
I mean, the answer to the question here. Sorry, is it Momshad? The point here is that the wrong question has been answered here, which is just have a consistent state management approach.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you use, really.
Right.
It doesn't. Like just as long as you've got consistency and everyone's agreeing about how you do stuff, that's what you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the biggest important thing.
Yeah. Also one final aspect that actually the mechanisms that state management packages are based on are pretty basic. So this means even over the whole time, the only time that I had to do some real change and get it was when we switched to null safety, for example. Yeah. Otherwise, really exactly these are the packages that are the least problematic when it comes to that they get that they are no longer compatible when if the Flutter SDK is evolving. Yeah. So. Yeah.
What's really funny about this is that all the state management literally devolves down to one thing: callback.
Yeah.
It's just it's calling a function when a value changes. That is literally the definition of state management.
Exactly. If you after the call, if you look into the article, I make exactly this point that before I came to Flutter, I didn't even know the term state management because it was just a way. How do I keep my data and my UI in sync? Nothing else. So
it is as you said, you spot on that one as well. We've seen this for years. I'm going to say it for years now, which is people mix up the term state management with architecture.
Yeah.
Right.
It's only in one aspect.
Yeah, it's one aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that kind of comes up wrong. Did you curiously, did you look at the new architecture section of Flutter dev documentation?
Absolutely. That's the reason why I wrote the my article, because I found it absolutely insane what they did there. Sorry. and actually what I also did, I did a complete refactor of the Compass app using my approach. I forked it. I did a full refactor. It was really a lot of work, but it's done. It's linked in the article there because I found it insane what they did. It's absolutely over-engineered. And Amy, we had this discussion, the ugly discussion about using wrong terminology because it's not MVVM what they are doing there. Things like this. So I'm really, and actually I'm honestly, I was quite upset that no one from the team ever got in touch with me, for example, because they know that when did I do my talk on RVMS as a Flutter architecture, one of the first talks on architecture at all, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, yeah. So that they don't talk with people who spend a lot of time in this area, yeah. And they come up with something that I look at the code and I ask, what are you doing there? Yeah, don't know.
Send them an email. Send them a link to your article. See what happens.
Yep.
All right.
Let's
Next
on.
question.
Let's move on. Hi, I need a bit of help on the design component, something like the restaurant detail page, app bar, DoorDash. How to show the filter component like the app bar shows on Collapse.
Does anyone know? I don't have DoorDash. We don't do DoorDash
either.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
I have it, but I don't remember what it looks like because that's how
Can you open it up at all and give us a?
But presumably it's going to be some form of sliver app bar kind of setup. Wouldn't you think?
Is it something? Okay, I need a bit of help designing component. Okay, here, page, restaurant detail page like that. How to show a filter component like the app bar shows on Collapse.
Yeah, if you build watching not sliver app bar, right? And those type things.
I don't. The problem is that I can see how this can mean several different things, so it's not very clear to me in the description, since I've not seen DoorDash, what this is.
This is not a trivial problem either. This is a UX issue with a lot of deep understandings of how people want to interact with the app, and you have to watch people do that for a while and things like that. So it's probably not something solving in an hour.
Did you open up DoorDash by chance, Randall? Did you say you got it?
I did, and I'm trying to remember really what part of this there's, but it's just got a
restaurant detail. So if you open up DoorDash, click on any restaurant, and then scroll the page.
Okay.
I'm trying to look here. So I tried Googling DoorDash UI filter design, and the AI overview starts with the DoorDash's app's filter design has been criticized for inconsistent actions and poor signature.
Yeah. You know, that's true. That's true. I remember when I was homebound and when my leg was being healing, and I remember ordering from DoorDash and always being sort of upset by you search across certain things and then they're not orthogonal searching across other things. And it just showed some random combination of things.
There's another side of this, right?
Or in somebody's hand.
I'm gonna be optimistic. Maybe optimistic is the wrong word. Pessimistic on that. I mean, the point here is that I look at those issues and I do go, why can't it just be simple? But then it's like I know from fact, being on the inside of the companies like that, it's like when you actually have the problem, you're like, it's not that simple because they have to factor in so many other things you don't know about from the outside viewing, looking in, as it were. That it's like, why can't they just do that because of X, Y, Z? You know, A, B, C, D, E, F, and there's a whole list of reasons why they're not doing like that. They would want to do it like that if they could, but there's reasons why they can't.
I'm a little amused that if optimistic's not the right word for Simon, then pessimistic must be the right word.
Yeah.
Well, it's that kind of like, it's like, anyway, no matter. Right, anyway, all right, move on. Right.
Actually, on the, I'm just looking on one of the next comments, and I was just wondering,
Thomas,
sorry.
Hold that thought, Thomas. Hold that thought. Danielle, you said you got to leave now, yeah?
Yeah, my hour's up. I got to get back to the day job.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks very much. And
Thanks, for letting me come do this every week.
Cool.
So,
of course, every week. You're always welcome.
Thanks.
You're one of us.
Oh, no, I know that. No, I'm thanking my company for letting me do it.
Oh,
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Thanks, Arlie. Company. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
right. All right. Bye for now.
All right.
Was mit Aqua, den Yellow? Aqua?
Thomas is ordering drinks.
Und was pink?
One for me.
Yeah, one for us. Don't forget us.
You gotta buy around.
Yeah.
You have to see this place because this is really
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right. Come on then.
Number
Let's
seven.
see. What's the next? Right. So
We
we'll
have
give a.
Columbia right there too.
Should we give like a 15-minute warning, 10-minute warning on questions?
Yeah. Actually, we should probably stop 5 minutes. 5 minutes stop.
Right, 5 minutes. I'll get your questions in now.
Yep.
Sorry, Thomas. Carry on. Yeah.
I just thought just one comment about an isolate on web. I just was wondering with Flutter Web Bosom, do we still not have isolates, or what's the story there?
So you can do workers, but I don't believe isolates are magically workers.
Yeah,
so,
but I mean, the moment we are in the Bosom world, we should have the full. We are almost native, so why not isolates there?
I don't know if WASM supports isolates. I don't think it does.
So it's still the worker stuff, right? So the browsers have a concept of background threads, like things that you can start up in pages, and they're called workers.
Okay.
And it's just conceptually a different way of doing things, very similar to, I'd say, very similar to isolates. I just don't think anyone's done the mapping there. I know there's a couple of packages that do it for you. So there's I think it's Worker Web actually. Funny enough, it's been a while. A web
There are
worker
packages that isolate whether you're on web or non-web and try to do the right thing.
Yeah, there's a few.
Probably a dozen packages like that I remember finding. So
yeah, there's quite a few around there that do similar things. I just found Isolate Manager. Here you go. Let's have a look at this. I have no idea. There, people. I don't know who this is, but it came up. It was updated 3 days ago. It's got quite a few downloads and points and all the rest of it. Supports create multiple isolates for a single function, one isolate manager instance, and then isolate manager worker and isolate manager custom worker. Multiple isolates, so you can do like a shared system. Supports workers on the web if a worker is unavailable in the working browser or is not configured, the future or stream will be used. Supports WASM compatible on web. There you go. Supports try catch blocks. Multiple computer operations are allowed. So this sounds like this is what you might want to use if you want to support web and other ones. Oh, here you go. Look, Fibonacci. This is showing you the different cycles, right? So if you do isolate.run, that's your benchmark, obviously. And in this case, smaller is better. Yeah, results of microseconds. So look, 3 isolates, 274, 1 isolate, slightly more expensive than isolate.run, main app without any isolates, I would guess. So this is calculating to 33 Fibonacci sequence, I guess, and then this is the difference that you see. So you can see the scale. Yeah. And then the same here, Chrome with worker supported. There you go. And look at the difference there. So 3 workers, 195,000 compared to 3 isolates, 274,000. The same one. But there's a difference. Look at the difference. On web, the main app is 2.2 million versus, 75. So without workers, there's a considerable difference, right? Even with 1 worker, it's still cheaper than without on standard VM. So yeah, it's nice. Yeah, okay. It sounds to me like there are functions used isolate must be static or top level functions. The VM entry point annotation should also be used to ensure that tree shaking doesn't remove this code. Yeah. Those that don't know. Anyway. Things you mustn't do and the way to use it. Yeah, that sounds like a good package. Looks nice. Benchmarks are always nice. There you go.
I put it on my list of things to do a screencast about. Doing screencasts. I'm trying to get back to it. Really, I really am. All right, let's move on. We got other things over here. Here's one here. I think it's got a yeah, okay. Under Dart Lang working 333, is Dart headed for multi-threading with shared memory? Probably not in general.
Dart Lang working. Is
I
that
think they were discussing some options how they can support it better. Yeah.
Yeah.
which makes sense for certain.
Is this the language? Is this talking about what 333?
That's an issue, probably. Or
Well, I
maybe
thought
not.
that, but I was like, it describes like an issue in a repo, but I'm like, Dartlang repo, sure. Hang a minute. Oh, the language repo. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, no. I'll bring it up on stream here. Hang on. There we go. Shared memory multi-threading. This proposed tries to address two long-standing gaps in which separate Dart from other more low-level languages. Dart developers should be able to utilize more multi-core capabilities without hitting limits of the isolate model. Nice. Interoperability between Dart and native platforms, concurrency models, misaligned. The misalignment is not an issue. Invoking simple native asynchronous functions becomes a blocker when working with APIs. That pins the main thread, main actor, deal with APIs that want to callbacks on arbitrary threads. Yes, this is very similar. So we've had these problems. I think, Thomas, we had some of these problems a while back with, was it you? I can't remember. Do some FFI stuff, and basically the API that you're calling into requires you to the API that you're calling into requires the resulting callback that you call back to be on a certain thread, but Dart doesn't let you control which thread runs the callback that you're calling. So that kind of whole threading control is really difficult. The other side of this is, which seems obvious to me, is that so the way that async and await work does not necessarily mean that you're limited to one thread. It's complicated. It's complicated. But you have like the single event loop model, which is what we have now, where you have what you essentially call coroutines, which are small asynchronous modules that are kind of small asynchronous units of work that can be scheduled onto one thread, right? This allows you to effectively do what you do for multi-threading and not have a single thread approach of single workflow, should we say, single threaded workflow, but have the capability to like await and async and have all that handled for you. The wait state side of things. Now that's really great. I won't lie. However, what you want to do is have that same capability but across multiple threads. So, for example, right now you could just build your Dart application with async and await, and it would just know when you're working, what things are accessing what, and know how to utilize multiple threads. But the isolate model doesn't necessarily allow for that. So this is what they're talking about here, basically. So native code does not understand the concept of isolates. What is the issue we're trying to solve? Improving the native code. We told you there. What are the issues you're trying to solve, right? And what's a concrete example? Parallelizing workloads, just what I just spoke about. Yeah, when using an isolate, it's relatively straightforward to parallelize two types of workloads: the output of function, computation self-contained. Anything else?
I think Simon, a little bit above was the important thing here. Allows the developer to selectively break isolation boundary between isolate static and static fields. That's the I think that's a good idea.
Shared between isolates and isolate group. Nice. This is a concept of shared isolates, which is basically shared memory. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, so basically the notion. I mean,
I think allowing this in a controlled way is really makes sense, because I mean the strict boundaries and only allow messaging between isolates was always a bottleneck.
It's still a bottleneck right now. I mean, they've improved it with the better handling of type data and immutable byte buffers and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm just trying to look through here. Yeah, this kind of, I'm trying to see if there's an example in here. Run shared.
Hey, Thomas, we're hearing music from your channel. If you could mute when you're not talking, that would be great. Thanks. That was it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this looks to be great. I think we should do this. There you go. Dart concurrent package. Oh, would serve as library hosting 2 low-level concurrency primitives. Oh, finally, thread and thread pool. Ah, yes, please. Islets are not thread, but often confused with them. Okay, so basically, we actually get finally the ability to spin up threads rather than actually having to spin up full isolates. So this is also something that that is going to be interesting, right? Because if they bring in the model of having multiple threads per isolate, that's a huge impact, right? But then also you kind of get the problem then of synchronization, variable synchronization.
Yeah.
Which
It was used
those
in
that
terms.
don't know in the multi-threaded sphere, sorry, for those that don't know the multi-threading sort of programming, synchronization, that the problems around synchronization, that is like, let me just give an example here briefly, guys, just for a second.
It was a mess.
Imagine you've got something that's adjusting a number and adding 5 to it each time. Another one's that's minusing it by 3. Well, the way that you change a variable in memory is it's a read, copy, write procedure, which is you read the value, it computes the addition of the values, like add 3 to the number, and then it writes the final value back to the memory. If you have 2 threads doing this at the same time, you can read and write the wrong values and you get all confused, right? So you have to synchronize them. That means you have to put a lock in place so that only one thread at a time can modify that piece of memory. And that's essentially what the nice thing about isolates and messaging is, that it means you don't have to worry about that, right? Mutexes and semaphores and all that lovely synchronization logic goes away. So for the most part, right? So this kind of means that we might be, if we're going to get back these primitives, as they're saying, like thread like this and thread pool and things like that, then yeah, we could. Oh, look, there you go. Aha, I knew it. There you go. Atomic ref. There you go. So there you go. So what they're doing here is they're making a first party wrapper. You see around the T. So you can wrap a variable, its initial value, and then you can store and load it. And they're guaranteeing that this store and load is atomic, which means it doesn't matter how many threads there are, this store can never be futzed with by another store taking place at the same time, basically. And then you've got compare and swap, which is brilliant. So this again is a requirement to having proper automaticity. That one.
Atomicity.
Yeah, that one. Oh, look. And then they've actually got some base sources like int32, int64, lists. Oh, nice. So yeah, I can see that. Yeah, ref list of atomics as well. So you can atomically modify a list as well. This would open up so much. This would, honestly, if you gave this to who? Oh, come on, Thomas, come on, help me out here. Who was the chap in the community who was doing all the generative art from France? I'm gonna.
I think I know who you mean. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the end,
anyway,
basically,
that kind of this would be really beneficial for that. Go on.
We just allow people who know what they are doing, that they get more powerful possibilities. Yeah. So no, it's really I'm really glad to see this.
When can we have this? I need this. There's so many. I mean, the amount of times that I felt that we needed this is yeah. So look, non-reentrant lock. You've got conditional locks. You've also got down here coroutines. Add support for OS threads, which gives everyone to add support for coroutines known as fibers or lightweight threads. Yes, please. So this kind of like, oh yes, please, yes. So there's so much. Like this really would take Dart to that next level. This would take Dart into the systems level workloads. This is really impactful if you want to get any sort of like real sort of high performing code base, especially on like the server side, right? Hope it does not get cancelled. Oh, burn.
Simon, could this also be related that this is an answer for problems that we might get by changing the threading models inside Flutter, for example? You know, the thing that we now have everything on once on the main thread. Maybe we
So-
need something like this in future?
So that's a good point. I think that's an interesting point there, right? Because the move to the main thread stuff, there's reasons, pros and cons against it, right? Pros and cons on all these things. But the real big one is that FFI, the whole problem with calling out and using libraries, it requires you to be on that main thread. Pretty much everything does. That expects to be the de facto standard. Now, there's no this is why I think this is a good idea, because that should be the default, right? And then if you want to spin up another thread at the moment, you can spin up another ISO, let that deal with stuff off of the main thread, and you can handle that. I think the key here is, having this threading model means that you can then expand, you can then do things yourself. There's no reason why inside of the Dart environment you couldn't, like, I want 5 threads, I want to spin up 10 threads to do this work and handle multiple cores and do all the fun stuff. Like, this would really make so much difference. There's a lot of software use cases where this is required, and right now the key concept is everyone goes off to FFI land and goes, okay, I'm going to write this in another language, compile it, and then use Dart as my interface, and Flutter as my interface, and use Dart for the language. But if you can bring that to Dart land, now you've built one piece of code that works across multiple platforms, and the Dart SDK is handling the fact that it's being built for various platforms. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Ship it.
Okay, guys, I have to leave you too, and I wish you a very nice rest of the show, and see you soon.
Thanks for joining us. We really love to see you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Enjoy your lovely breakaway. So,
Colombia
all right.
is not one of the 68 countries I visited. That's really weird that it still haven't been there. I've been near there, but not there.
Right.
I've been
Let's crack on with questions, and then we can get to some live coding before we end the stream, hopefully.
Yes.
Right.
This is a two-parter, so I'll give you the gist in a second, unless you can go find the gist in the history there. Since value notifier lacks a selector concept like provider or block, I proposed a modification to value notifier. Wow. I'd love to see your thoughts on it and why the Flutter team hasn't implemented something similar. Probably because they count on us to implement stuff like that. So can you find the gist there, Mr.
So look.
Foot? Okay.
Valuable listener builder with selector. I like it. I like the idea. So I mean, so the problem here with selectors is they're not really selective. Let's have a look. So let me just hold this thought back here for a second. But I'm not going to look at the code. I'm going to just talk about this. So the way selectors work is when it comes to like notification, the selector, it notifies all of them. So let's imagine you've got one piece of data that's changing. That's your state. And you've got 10 widgets that are all listening to that one piece of state, right? Each of those widgets has a separate selector in it, right? Which basically says, if it's this bit of data that's changed, this field, I want to be rebuilt. So just imagine maybe you got like a profile on screen for a user. It's got name, email, ID, phone number, address, all the kind of profile things, right? You only want the address field to rebuild when the address value has changed on the user model, right? So, and same for the rest of them, right? You only want those fields for those widgets to rebuild for the fields of the model. Now, the problem here is that when that user model changes, it notifies all listeners, no matter what. They get notified. It then goes to the listener, it goes into the function that you registered, does whatever behavior it has to do, and then returns control back, right? So basically, a selector is on the leaf of the notification part, not at the front end. It still essentially goes out and has traversed the full list. Whereas what you actually want, which is how inherited model works, which is that the request for what you're changing happens on the notification side. It doesn't even, so when you use inherited model appropriately, which is how it's used with like media query, for example, is that when your aspect of your model changes, that is the field. So let's say the address changes, it only notifies those listeners that care about the address. So there's a slightly different model there, you with me? Because on one side, you can index so that only when that field changes, does it go off and it will just loop around and notify those. So it's Slightly different, I guarantee it. To be honest, there's not much in it. It's not much in all of this, to be honest. We talk about these like whole concepts, and we're like, oh my god, it's like, oh, it's 5 cycles more to do it this way than that way. To be honest, for most applications, these things don't matter. But it's when you get a really large application and you start getting lots of stuff on the screen, and suddenly now you're notifying and calling selectors, and those selectors are doing some logical behavior. Every time some model changes on every frame, suddenly your performance drops through the floor. So yeah, I just want to kind of explain that maybe conceptually that they are slightly different. All right, back to this. So the point here is that I like this. Yeah, so if you pass in a selector, it runs the selector on the value coming in and gets the currently selected value, right? Whatever the value is. Otherwise, it pulls in the current value from the variable listenable. Great, listens to the value. So as you see here in this model, value changed is going to be called. It doesn't matter what the selector is, right? This is just unselect and reselect. I mean, we can always see here, this behavior is the same as this behavior. So maybe make a function that has those lines of code in, right? And call it in both places, like init selector or init widget or something, right? Anyway, but yeah, so when you get value changed, gets called, it calls the selector again, and then does set state. Again, the same behavior up here as this, right? Which is like to select a new value. And it compares the new value to the old one. If it's different, then it does a set state. So it only rebuilds this widget when the value changes, which is what selector does. But the point here being that this selector logic and whatever behavior is in here has to run on everything, right? So really, the selector makes it really kind of flexible. Yeah, but this sounds like a good idea. Why don't you submit a PR? Do it.
Well, you got to add tests, you got to add documentation. That's why you can't.
Oh yeah. But what I'm trying to say is, like, yeah, do it. Like, you know, you talk about this.
Yeah.
Get your widget in the Flutter. Explain why you think it's important. Explain, show examples of why you think it's beneficial than the normal pattern, and how it can help everyone. Make your case. See what they say.
I know that in the selector stuff for RiverPod, that it's important to keep in mind that the selector function, the f of whatever, needs to be computed exactly once, because it might have side effects. So the idea is you have this incoming value, which may or may not be a candidate. You compute this function once, and if the function then has a different value from previous, you notify further downstream. You want to make sure only run that computation once with this new updated value.
So there's actually a name for that, isn't there? Idempotent.
Idempotency, yes.
That's the one.
Yeah, I know.
I love that word.
It's hard. There are words that until I heard somebody actually say them, I had been reading them out loud and in my head.
I've always read that wrong. That's why it took me a second there.
Yeah. It's good though. You came up with the right word though. Yes.
Yeah.
If something's idempotent, that means it can be recomputed and come up with exactly the same value and doesn't have a side effect. It's what we want the build method of your widgets to be, for example.
Maybe we should have an annotation at idempotent, and there's like the framework can put it on things and then maybe then the static analysis can actually prove that it is idempotent and actually warn you if it's not. That'd be fun.
Well, we're an hour and a half in, and we still have a bunch of questions. Let me keep going here then.
Okay, keep going.
Oh wait, sorry, wrong one. For beginners to understand about the Dart VM, is there a roadmap for non-computer background devs? What kind of a dev are you if you're non-computer?
I think they're asking. So forget VM for a second off of this. So was it about Dart? Is there a roadmap for Dart? And yes, there is a roadmap for Dart.
Yes.
And in fact, that's the bit we're just looking at. Let me get you the link to what I was just looking at.
Sure.
So we have what is the language tree? I'll pop this link in the chat. I'll bring it up on stream as well. So here's the language repository, and this is where the Dart language evolution takes place, right? So who on the team is involved, well, the engineers and organization, and they have this thing called the language funnel. And this is like a Kanban kind of board where things are discussed, spec'd, and then completed, and then implemented, and then they're marked as done. So Icebox, Meta program got chucked in the Icebox. No. Anyway, but we have wildcard variable came out of that. So wildcard variables was released. This one, digit separators in number literals. The amount of time I've wanted to do this, I couldn't tell you how many times. But that's it. It's closed. Is it in now? What did this get released?
I think that was in the release that came out last week. Yeah.
Oh yeah, perfect. There you go. 329.
Dart 3.7. Yeah. So you got Dart 3.7. You're good. The one that fiddles with your indentation. If you got that one, you got this as well. All right.
I mean, this was apparently it was marked as complete on in September last year. So yeah, it should have made it certainly into the next major release. So
it's landed. It's far landed. Yes.
All
right.
See, why is that? Why was that not in the announcement? I know it's silly, but that actually has a big impact.
It was in the Dart 3.7 announcement. I remember it being there because I went and looked it up. I went, oh, that's cute.
It just type inference does not solve some constraints in F bounds. Extension types.
Perl had this from almost the beginning, and I remember doing an example in one of my slides in the early days for Perl. I would put 1_____3, and so that's 13. And it was like, yeah, technically it is, but please don't do that.
I'm just thinking, actually, there isn't actually like a proper roadmap. They have the language funnel, but they don't tell you. It's basically what makes its way out the door after going through the language funnel, as far as I understand it. That's the current flow of what they're working on.
That, and you can watch the changes to the language spec, because all those changes are pretty much in the language spec. Also, adjacent to the language spec, they have the design docs for all those things. So you can kind of watch those as well. That's where I learned about patterns early on, because I kept referring to the documents for patterns and records that were there. Help me out. Let's keep moving, because we got lots of stuff still. Okay. There is this concept of a widget state property, right? Is there a way we can leverage it for custom widgets? Currently, they can be used for Flutter widgets only, or am I missing something?
No, they can be used in anything. So we bring it up. Let me bring it up.
How would you use it?
So I think that let me explain what this is about. First of all, for those that don't know, we had material state property. Anyone remember that? Well, there's been a big hoo-ha in the community for a long time, which is the fact that a lot of the Flutter widgets are material first, right? And when you want to not do material, well, you end up with a situation where you've got to do a lot of work yourself to rebuild the base things. Like, let's say a checkbox. I know it sounds silly, but let's say a checkbox on the screen. You still want the concept of like a tick box, right? But however, you want to custom render like an animated tick happening when you click on the box. The state manager behind the tick box, the way it works, that's standard, right? So we should have a checkbox component. The fact that it does rendering a certain way, or it does colors a certain way, or whatever else, that's down to the look and feel of it. And that's so it's really about this kind of notion of material does it this way, Cupertino does it that way, but they both have a checkbox. So we should have a common widget for checkbox, and then have the material implementation and Cupertino implementation. And if you want to implement your own, you can then essentially extend the base checkbox widget. So this is where this came from. So there is actually a Flutter design document with a name, which is what they call in this effort, where they're separating stuff out. But basically, material state property got renamed to widget state property. It did not just a rename, there's some refactoring. But the point here is more about like separating it out. So the idea being that if you want to run your own widget with material state property, you can, right? So this is explaining how you might utilize it with the text button widget, right? But actually all it is a function. So you see down here, it has one function called resolve. That is the entire thing. I mean, all it does is you give it the set of states and it returns back the value. You can go use that in your own widget. Perfect. Go do it.
Can you extend beyond it's an enum, right? So you can't extend the number of things that are states. You can't invent your own state, right? I think it's locked in as just being the state.
Yeah,
state.
it's about choosing the value for a state. But the actual state machine is what is run by the widget.
Yeah, because this is
the idea about this. The idea
is
about
like-
material state properties is about affecting properties from the outcome of state change, right?
Right.
So your widget changes its state. In this case, if we just talk about this, we're talking about this from an abstract. So let's just bring up some widget states here. So here's an example: hovered, focused, pressed, dragged, selected, scrolled under, disabled, and error. So these are the built-in widget states. You know, you can do this yourself in the enum, right?
I like it. I like this as fits in a byte. There conveniently 8 of those states that they end up in a set. So it's like you could have a bit set if you wanted.
All right. Kind of cool. That's another thing. That's another example of what we're missing in Flutter is that to have bit fields is really quite important when you start getting to work with large data. Don't have them. Anyway, I'm just complaining for the sake of complaining now. Right. What was the question here?
I distracted you.
Someone said the states are an enum. What if you want your own states? Don't use it. Do your own. There you go. I mean, literally, you're talking about like it's a function. Where's the source code for this? Let's open up the source code. Abstract class widget state property. Right. So the from map, sure. Resolve as, sure. Calls the resolve. Right. These are just like static helpers, right? So these aren't even important. Right. There you go. That's the one line that actually makes any difference. Sorry. T resolve set of widget state to states. That's it. It's an abstract class with one function. You can go declare that with your own enum. And this is the battle. See, this is the problem. This is the battle that the Flutter team have, right? The battle is we want this. However, you can just go do it yourself. It's not that complicated, but it requires you to kind of put the effort in. So it's about trying to find the middle ground between actually. There's a point, and we said this earlier. There's a point, I think Thomas said this earlier, which was you're doing layouts for an app, and there's a point where the ones that are built in are no longer going to suit your needs. So you do custom layouts, so you do custom behaviors, and you really go deep on what you're doing. And that's more the advanced level, right? So it's about how do you get there as a developer. You need to go through a chain of events, and this one is you're using normal widgets as basic. You're then extending like the widgets, like we just said here, widget state property, and using that, and then you're building your own widget state property, right? Like your own mechanism of that better suits your needs. So as you say, if it doesn't have the states you want, then you're doing your own one. But equally, it's a function that your widget calls to resolve the value of a property for the state that's currently in.
And please learn that what set does in Dart, because I've seen now multiple clients reinvent kind of what set is with a list of values, or even using the keys of a map where the value is just simply true.
Oh, and God, I've seen that. Oh,
it drives me nuts. It's like, no, that is a set. We have a thing called set. We can add items. We can quickly determine if an item is in the set. We can intersect the sets. We can union the sets. There's all sorts of wonderful things you could do with a set. Learn the protocol for set.
This is interesting. I'm not seeing this in the documentation before, and they now list extensions. Look.
Yeah, that's recent. That's like in the last month or so. It's been added in, and it's true also down in the method list down below, and also in the.
I think they got a bug.
Class. What?
I'm pretty sure they should not be listing 4 of them because they all link to the same piece of code.
Oh God, that's weird. All right, maybe that is a bug. You found a bug. How nice is that?
Yeah, these are actually bugs. So one is listing. Sorry, you can't see this on the pop of my browser. Probably one is listing to just without HTTPS. One is listing with HTTPS, I think, or something like that.
Oh, geez.
There's like some weird kind of. I know, not my problem. Right.
But it is
moving
nice
on.
that extensions are now really considered first class things in the docs, which is really nice. Oh yes, back to what my job is, which is pushing these buttons over here. Let's see. Did that? How about this? What do you recommend, Sentry or Crashlytics?
Why not put both in? No.
Really get notified.
Yeah. To be honest, I recommend both, but for different reasons, right? So Crashlytics is great for like the small apps, the quick apps. If you're already using Firebase, chucking Crashlytics in there is super simple, right? A couple of lines, you're done. It's already configured to work with Firebase. It just works. On the other hand, Crashlytics is very opinionated. The way it does stuff is very basic, but it gets you out the door really quickly. Sentry, on the other hand, is a whole system that's built around this whole thing. It's a whole product. So it's like think about like Firebase, right? It's a whole thing that is just for doing this kind of reporting, right? And they have rate limiting. They have a bunch of kind of specialist like kind of ways of dealing with this, custom fields, all sorts of behaviors that you can really do to actually get the most out of your app. However, to really take advantage of it, you're going to pay for it. Now you can't self-host it. Now you've got to think about self-hosting it. So, they're just different. They're the same. They're different products, and you'd use them for different things, right? Like you're going to use Crashlytics if you just want something free and out the door. And if you want something bigger and better, and you've got the skill or the resource required to do it, Sentry is the way to go. Yeah. So for commercial products, both work. It's just, where you want to go. There you go. I've talked enough about that.
Okay. What are the challenges to adding Flutter to an existing Android project? What are the challenges?
That's a good one.
Coding.
So what this person's talking about is what we call add to app, right? So add to app is the kind of putting like Flutter in just one screen of your app, or like just using a Flutter view as a widget inside of an existing Android app. Well, the challenges. I mean, you have a communication problem, right? So that is, you've got your Dart environment and you've got your Android environment. Now, the Dart environment and Android environment are different. Like they're not just like the same memory space. So you can't just like access a variable by reference just immediately, right? You have to like serialize and deserialize. You have to move data from one memory space to the other memory space. And this is done for you. I mean, I'm not making it sound difficult. I'm just saying that's how it works, right? So this means that when it comes to this, you have to use things like channels, or you have to use arguments to starting up your Dart engine and that kind of stuff, right? Like I think that I would say is the real sort of challenge. I see Rodrigo just said warming up the Dart engine. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a challenge. You just run the few lines of embedding code, right? But I think the challenge is really about like how you actually navigate that binding of the two parts. I know someone that's actually worked on a couple of projects that they've done this heavily with. So if we wanted to talk about this at some point, we could bring them on the stream. But frankly, I've tried to avoid this as much as possible. I mean, it's a lot easier just to work in a sort of greenfield in terms of just like your entire app is just Flutter, right? And normally
this was a lot more essential when Flutter was early on, when people had tons and tons of existing Android and iOS apps. It was really important to be able to do add to app to start selling Flutter in the early days. But I think at the last I/O, or maybe 2 meetings ago, 2 years ago, they said that the add to app was such a small part of the attention that being gotten to that it was kind of almost like, we still support it, but we're not really like recommending it strongly. We really, it's start over, and it's not that hard to write Flutter from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, this is just for those that this one, docs.flutter.dev/add-to-app. I mean, the fact of the matter is it's not going to be like, we can take you through the steps. You're combining two systems together. It's not, you're adding complexity, right?
Yep.
You're adding complexity, and obviously it's different for if you're adding it Android, iOS, web, as they're taking you through here, and what you need to do. I'm just not to be honest. I can see how you can need to do this if your product is so big, and you want to transfer to Flutter, but you need to do it in chunks, basically. But for the most part, yeah, I would say there's very little benefit to doing it that way, right? It's going to take you a lot longer. There's a lot more code you're making and then deleting and throwing away. Like it is that kind of your imagine you're trying to cross a lake, and you have to build the bridge as you go, and then you have to take it up as you go across. That's what I'd say you're doing when you do add to app, right? If you're trying to transition an app using add to app to Flutter, that's what you're doing. Whereas what you could just be doing is doing a new Flutter app and saying just build the bridge. Just that's it. You've done it once. You don't have to clean up behind. You have to like do a bunch of stuff. Just build a fresh greenfield app. And I can tell you right now, if you've got the current template of your app, doing it in Flutter will be a lot quicker. It's not like you're doing it. If you're doing it, the time taken to build an app is almost the thinking. It's the cost
architecture and the design. Yeah.
Sorry?
The architecture and the design is what takes a long time.
Architecture design. I was going to say the other one is just like the fact that you need to. When we talked about design, you've got the visual design, but you've got the functional design, right?
Flow.
So this is like
flow.
all the flow. This is about this, like, let's say you've got like, I don't know, a form, and you've got all the different ways a user can interact with that form, and you've over the years you've worked out if we focus state change like this, and it deals with that, and what happens on this type of device or that thing, and that is the bit that's taken the time. But you've got that knowledge built up in your Android product.
Right.
You just replicate that in Flutter. That's all you're doing. And at that point, that's a lot quicker to achieve than it is just to go from scratch. You're not going from scratch, redoing this entire thing. Like you're not going through all of the conversations and design iterations and all the challenges that you had building that first Android product. No, it's already been built. You're just replicating it in Flutter. So, like, I can tell you right now that the journey to going greenfield with an existing product, duplicate an existing product over, let's say, is going to be way faster.
I was on a project once where they had a 10 or 15 page Android app, and they wanted to move it to Flutter. And I finally said, look, this is going to take me knowing way more about Android than I do, because you have to translate it. You essentially need to speak both languages. And I said, look, Flutter is my first mobile environment. I do not know anything about Android or iOS, and I don't really intend to ever learn much about those except as needed. And I said, so I took myself off the project because I said, there's no way I'm going to be useful to you. You're going to find somebody that's, bilingual already. That's going to be a lot better for you. And I don't remember hearing from them recently. So hopefully they made it okay. But so
I mean, something actually, I remember back in the day, there's been several, what's the word, transpilers, right? I guess is the best term for it. Those kind of things that convert from one framework or language to another framework or language, right? Automatically. I think that's kind of an interesting concept as well, because that can help you head started on these kind of things. I was joking around at the Flutter London meetup last night. I said, we should just build like a React to Flutter package, so you can just like run it on your React project, and it spits out a Flutter project at the end of it, which does exactly the same thing.
Wow!
Imagine if we spent all that, like the community that came together and spent effort doing that, and like that would be really effective. Just imagine how many apps would be just migrated instantly over to Flutter, right? It's like, boop, and you're done.
I bet you could get AI to do about half of that for you.
This is what we're saying. Like I wonder if what you could do now with that kind of stuff, because it's great in components, right? Like at a larger level, high level, no, but at that kind of low level, you could probably like automate a bunch of that kind of migration and be very good at it, you know. Anyway, let's
Yep.
carry on
All right.
before we get
Yes,
way
please.
off topic.
We've got just almost not enough time here. Let's see. Let's do this one. When I convert a complex chart widget into an image and then convert it to PDF, it freezes. Oh, because you're throwing a lot of bits around. A web app freezes the web app. Oh my God. Oh, no, you don't want to do this.
So it's what we just spoke about earlier. So you convert it to, first of all, when I convert a complex chart widget into an image and then convert it into a PDF, why are you converting a chart widget into an image into a PDF? Why don't you just make the chart in the PDF? So that would be my first point, because I can tell you right now, that would be a lot simpler to say draw box, draw box, draw box, and to like, there's no processing bits. And then also you'd have a PDF that's like 10 kilobytes versus 500 kilobytes, like in big PNG file or something, or even megabytes. I mean,
it'd be
what?
like 10 meg,
and also it scales and it doesn't go blurry. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
So I think I would say use the PDF package, which lets you generate with what's called PDF widgets in there, and allows you to actually there's actually chart ones in there, but you could just build your own, just a column and a row, you know, like lay them out. I mean, obviously you can build more complex charts, but it's not that difficult. Right, so that's one thing I'd say. But if you want to continue and persist down your route of converting widgets, capturing bitmap from a widget, and then taking that bitmap and then processing it into a PDF, if you really want to do that, then, you know, you can use a what we just spoke about earlier, the isolate manager package?
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can grab it up here. Do I have it? Bear with. But yeah, so it's that kind of thing of actually maybe isolate manager. It was isolate manager. I'll pop this in the chat. There's this package here, isolate manager. And that apparently I've lost the sorry, I lost him. We lost it. There it is. I found it. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that you would use. So you'd actually do your processing of your image or whatever in a worker, which is no different to the main thread. So it means your app can continue to do UI things and stuff, whilst in the background, it's got a separate worker that's doing conversion of images and encoding PNGs and PDF. I'm assuming you're using the image package to encode your PNG or JPEG as well, which also is not the most effective use of that either. You take your, I don't know.
Yeah,
Just going about it the wrong way. If I'm honest, like you're asking the wrong. Yeah, repaint boundary to bytes to PDF is just not the way to do this.
No. All right. Last one.
The reason why, but just for this, I just need to bring this up. Sorry, one second before we jump off that topic.
Yep.
Oh, not that one.
Oh,
you can have that one. No, it's this one. The PDF package is the one I was just talking about for creation libraries, low level. It has a widget similar to Flusters for easy high level PDF creation, and it does supports graphics and everything else. Blah 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 blah. And this is what you want to use. So if you go in here, API reference widgets. So look, there's all these lovely widgets that you can use that let you lay out things like Flutter, but in a PDF. You want a chart? Oh, look, there's a chart widget. It uses the chart grid and data sets, and it will just make a chart. On the other hand, if you want to like do your own, well, you can do rows and columns and do your own. I mean, like there's no biggie here. It's the same sort of thing, you know, like, you know, it has like the same sort of notion of like paint and layout and so on. It's not as complicated as it were as Flutter's system for reasons, for good reasons. But the point here is, just use this. This is what it's there for. You want to clip oval, you want to like draw a circle, you want to draw a rectangle, you want to color that, you want to size it. Yeah, it's all in here. draw an icon. So you can just do your own layout of widgets that does what you want it to do. Polygons.
And these will all be represented in the PDF by very short instructions rather than a collection of bits as well, which makes a big
rectangle, fill color, stroke width. And I
Yep.
think what like you have was it polygon there? Do you want to like draw like a line graph, or you just draw some lines? I think there's actually
this
is it
seems
line?
obvious. PDFs were designed to basically hold PostScript files, which were basically designed to be on the laser writer so that people could make pretty charts and graphics for their presentations.
This is exactly the use case for it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's PDF. It had to have that baked in, I'm sure, because
So
like everyone's going to.
So chart takes a data set. There's point data set and pi data set, right? So you do point data set, and there's bar and there's line. So you want a line chart, there you go. And there's your list of data. You give it your legend, your colors, your widths, your heights, and it'll just do it. There you go. So yeah.
Yes. Right.
What's
okay. Ready?
Sure. Anyway, let's move on.
Sorry. All right. Yeah. Next to last question. Last one's quick. So that gist, I need help with the top tracking bar. I am trying to make it smooth. Ooh, smooth.
I'm envisioning what the problem is right now. You're doing it wrong.
Really?
No, I jest. Let's have a look. Let's have
the
a look here.
Problems on line 35. Problems on line 35. Let's check. I bet it is.
Right, screen transition. I'm trying to implement top chart. So first of all, I want to be clear about this for those that don't know, and that is when you're debugging your app and when you're developing your app, it will be low performing because you're in debug mode. If you need to compile your app in release mode, not do Flutter run, Flutter build with -- release, the default, in fact, for Flutter build, and then run that. And that's just going to show you the true performance of your app. So I just want to be clear about that. Hi, Steph. Come on the stream, Steph.
Yeah.
Send you the link. Anyway, so registration there. Okay, let's have a look. Or profile. Yeah, as Rodrigo says. Okay, dog info page. Yeah. Okay, scaffold, app bar. Linear progress
See, line
indicator.
35 starts this class. I said that's probably where the problem is.
I see. So it might be anywhere in this class. I see.
Yeah. Well, I get that win.
So we got all this. Weight page. Yeah. Okay. We got a weight page with some stuff in it. Okay. Owner info page. Nice. Okay. Okay. So we're pushing the material route straight on to go to the next screens or whatever. But what's the problem? I'm not sure I see any problem. I was trying to add a top tracking bar to help the user monitor their point with registration progress. My approach is somewhat working, but it's more efficient approach to this pattern. Okay, top tracking bar. You mean like, is this like a step bar? Like you want to track the step through filling out the forms? Is that what I'm seeing here? Hang on. Registration model. Yeah, okay. So basically you want to take them through a series of page screens that fill out this information. It's kind of we call this a wizard, is the old school name for this. And okay, so yes, you have dog info page, you have a progress, okay, and then I see, and then every screen has got like an app bar and a linear progress indicator showing it. Yeah, there are definitely better ways of doing this. How's that? And we can show you that in a second. Let's go back and then we'll come back to this. Okay, Solomon?
There's a stepper widget, right, that you could use to include this, I guess. Okay, save that and move on. There's only one final point, which is can you guys go dark theme? It's too bright to watch theme. Get sunglasses.
Too bright.
It's
not that bright.
Mostly it's dark. We don't normally have dark things in there. It's only bright when there's just us, when it's just faces. I think it's a problem.
We could do a dark theme, but to be honest, most of the stuff's dark. It's the background, I guess. We need some cool Flutter artwork to put in the background that's dark. Anyway.
Yeah, because it's all white. right now. It's all light stuff. Anyway, that's enough. All right, that
that's
was it.
All right,
We're
well,
done.
then let's carry on with this then, and then we can get to a bit
So
of.
we're doing this still, which is the top tracking bar. Okay.
Mhm.
Right.
I think if we do this, and then we'll see if there's room for a bit of live coding or something, I guess.
I think they're looking at all this space up here. It's like too bright for them. Too bright
well.
for the millennials. Too bright for the millennials.
You know what the answer is? Make the screen smaller.
Hmm?
If you make our little window smaller, then it's going to take up less space and be less bright. Problem solved. Workaround.
Make it big. We look really smart. If you go
Yeah,
really
exactly.
fancy. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Where is? That's what I want. All right, let's do this. What can possibly go wrong?
Concentrated knowledge.
Why did I say that? Why did I say that? It's all going to go wrong.
I don't
Right,
know.
let's have a look. This one, this one, this one, like that, something like that.
Yeah.
I said, Steph, I see you. I said, Steph, come on the show. That's what I said.
Yeah.
So I'll send you the link. Join us.
Yes.
So
then you can
let's
promote Priestess.
Yes, indeed. Right. So let's grab 20/5, and today's date is 26. Right. Let's grab said file and chuck it in here. Pardon me. There we go. Right. The question is, can we make it work? Let's see what we can hack in here. So we don't have these constants. That's not going to work. We can come up with our with a material app to wrap this right now. We could also just do this as an example, right? So we don't have to go exactly what was there. Right. So we've got registration data. Oh, look, we got warnings. We got warnings. You should not be doing that. This should be this because it's a public interface. Just FYI. I'm going to fix this in the file. Right. All padding. Oh, look. Sure. I'll import that. Oh, look. We did this. We did obviously used this before because it said import and it imported the previous one.
Oh, weird.
So we're gonna fix this by chucking these at the top because we don't want to have to import someone else's stuff. And yeah, I'm just gonna put these up here. That'll do for now. Right. What else do we need? Let's give it a So we can put a home page in a second. Let's just see what we've got going on here. Secondary button color.
Whoa.
Okay, let's do it. Static secondary button color is going to be colors dot red because I think it looks awesome with massive red buttons in it. Right, is that it? Oh, and homepage. Okay, and push back to homepage. Okay, there's better ways of doing that. Don't do that. I'll show you. Also, always use dot of context. Treat yourself. So first of all, we're going to fix some navigation here. And then we'll go in and sort out the other bits. Right, so first of all, let's add stateless homepage. And then inside here, it's going to be material. It's going to have a nice button in the center, which is going to launch. It's going to have an elevator button. That's sole purpose in life is to launch the registration flow, I guess. That's not the right one. Register. Yeah. Oh, don't get tired on me. Right.
Well, it was karaoke night last night, as everybody knows. When I do karaoke, I get in late, and then I'm tired for this show. If only
So
these
what you're
weren't,
saying is karaoke is more important than this show.
no, it's not more important. It's just conflicting.
Yeah, it's I'm
That's
joking.
that's different.
Right. Push. Right. Okay. So where is this? How does this flow start? So we have registration there. Dog info page. Page 1. All right. That's page 1. Let's spin up page 1. Oh yeah. Okay. So we're going to show you how to do navigation slightly better. So every time you're navigating to the next page, somewhere in here, you're doing this. It's really navigation which let you down here, by the way, right? So we're going to sort that out. So first of all, dog info page. Right. I'm just gonna. This is like code review. I'm gonna bitch and moan, but do whatever you want to do, Solomon. It really doesn't matter. Right. So first of all, constructors in Dart have by default always gone first. I know in other languages you have like the variables first, so whatever your choice is, but I like it like this. And then also equally, it's nice to have a route. So here we're gonna have.
Or bring Steph in. Should we bring Steph in?
Sure.
Hi.
There you are.
Steph.
I joined. You asked me to come, and I actually had a bit to come. Why am I here?
I have no idea. Say hello to everyone. You can talk about
Hello,
Flutteristas
everyone.
and other fun things. I don't know.
Oh,
Hi, Steph.
Flutteristas. Yes, I'm one of the co-managers of the Flutteristas, which is an organization for women and non-binary who have a interest in Flutter. Danielle is usually here, and we work together, and we're preparing for the Flutterista conference, which is coming up April 5th here on the
Very
Flutter
channel.
community YouTube. What?
I said here on this very channel.
Here on this
Right
very
here.
channel.
Stay tuned.
And stay tuned. And let's just put it out there. I'm supposed to be one of the presenters, but I still have to finish my app. So yeah, I'm still working
Cool.
on that. Work at that after my day job.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Oh, my interview went well. I hope.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Are you
Right.
still a fellow Portlander? You're in Portland, right?
I'm on the west side.
Okay. Waving in your direction. Oh wait, that's over there. That way.
So, briefly, I want to talk about what I'm doing here. So, a big piece of doing navigation is just a nice way of doing it. So in this case, we can say we're gonna. What I've just done is made some static methods, exactly the same code, but it flows a lot better. So in this case, I'm going to make homepage stateful. We're going to have our registration state here. So we'll call this data underscore data. We're going to change this a little bit, and I think people appreciate this. So let's find out. So here we can navigate to dog info page, and we pass over the registration data that we want to fill out. If this is mutable, whether or not that's a bad or good thing, that's up to you. But at the end of it, so the route is just returning back a material page route with this widget with these parameters. Now, at this point, you could actually make this private. And what this means is now the only way to navigate to the dog info page is through doginfo.route, which is great.
Are you using the current version of Flutter? Sorry.
I have no idea.
Okay. Just curious.
Probably.
I have swapped between so many versions of Flutter recently. 327, so no, a little bit behind.
Okay.
329 is the latest one. Anyway, so this might be how you lay this out. And what we're going to do is just briefly make similar changes. So up here, we were navigating to the wait page. Now we navigate of context push wait page route. And again, we can make this private. It doesn't need to be private, but we can make it private. We might not have it private for testing purposes. You could say visible for testing, right? And give it a name, whatever. Lots of ways of achieving that. Right. So now we're on to weights. Oh, here's a question. Here's a question for you, Steph. How would one, what were the fields that I would fill out for your dog? Should we go through and fill out?
Yeah, I
your
was,
dog then?
because I wasn't watching the first part of this. When I'm hearing dog, I was not sure what you were doing.
So one of Solomon, one of the viewers, is doing an app about dogs. I forget, like
Okay.
it was the previous thing he gave him before. I can't remember what it was now. So yeah, I think the point
Okay.
here was this fills out a profile for a dog. So
Oh, and you want kilos. I gotta look up.
it doesn't have
Hold
to be
on.
exact. Right. Okay. So where are we?
Well, no, you know me, I have to be exact. So just a minute.
Where are we going with this? Right. Info page. Yeah. Here. Right. So this works. So now this is going to be.
Okay, my dog. One of my dogs is 3.6 kilos.
Teeny tiny dog.
Oh, I didn't. What?
I said teeny tiny dog.
Teeny tiny dog. Yep. And she's in the
1.6
sun.
kilos.
So.
Isn't that 35 pounds?
No, she weighs
No.
8.5 pounds. I just did 8.
Well, he's saying 1.6 kilos. I'm trying to figure out what that is.
1.6 kilo is here. I can tell you because I have my app open. It's 3 pounds, 8 ounces.
Okay. Right.
Okay. So where are we going with this? So data's passed in. This is stateful. Why is this stateful? It doesn't need to be stateful. There's nothing stateful here. Let's not make that stateful. Yeah, problem solved there. Let's widget. Go. Oops.
You might want to explain why you're doing that instead of, oh, it doesn't need to be, because there might be people who's not watching, why you changed it from stateful to stateless.
Because it doesn't have any state.
So
here's the problem. Here's the next problem, right? Just see the ownership of the state. So this is the what's where it's gone wrong with this already, right? So right now, the data has changed, but it's not your data, right? I mean, so the fact that this is now stateful. What we probably want to do is we're handing in this value. This is where it comes into. This is being mutable. It's kind of a bit icky. Let's continue on. Let's continue on now. I want to get this running, and when we run it, we can then start talking about how we can make it better. So I think what we can do right now. So I know I'm scrolling up and down here. Just want to quickly find the bits that we care about. Push replacement homepage. When I show, and I can guarantee when I show you this, you'll be like, oh my god, that makes so much more sense. So let me just fix this up, and then I'll show you the nicer way of doing these things. Right. Yes. Actually, this was my first. I think when was my first talk? Is my talk at Flutter Europe was literally covering exactly this. And when was that? When was Flutter Europe? 2020? 2022? It was a while ago. I was literally talking about doing exactly what I'm doing now. So yeah, it's all knowledge that you can gain. Right. Okay. So we've got that one. This one is just address page.route then. This is just yeah. I'm getting icky feelings right now. Right. That's bad code smells. Bad code smells. Right. Okay, I think that's it. So we've got 4 pages. Is it 4 pages? And then the final page shows a confirmation dialog. And if you click OK, it takes you back to the home screen. So what we could do is on the home screen here, we'll just do above, we'll set this as a column instead. with main axis alignment center, and then we can have a text field with things with field. We can have text fields with the entries, say from the data. Also, at the moment, the way this, well, I'll get to the problems in a minute. I don't want to spoil it before we've even run the app. Let's just pick a few key bits of information right now. So dog name, gender. It would actually be helpful, actually, would be to do a 2-string, right? We auto-generate a 2-string. That'd probably be easier quickly. Don't always, he says code generate. I know there's a generator in here somewhere. Generate, there we go. Give me a 2-string with all these fields. Done.
Wow. There are times when I like IntelliJ better than VS Code. That would be one of them.
And see, I can't. VS Code confuses me too much, and it's, I think, because I learned in Android Studio, but then learned IntelliJ from Simon. So,
I'll blame me. Why don't you?
oh no, it's
joking.
because like the app I'm converting on one side I have it in Android Studio, the other side I have in IntelliJ because I'm moving it to a different format, and I like the IntelliJ side better.
Yeah.
I am not being paid to say that. It's just me. I don't even want to get into GitHub desktop versus fork. I still need to learn fork. I know. Simon loves fork. If anybody out there hasn't used it, I recommend using it, taking a look at it. But
I'm gonna have to migrate this library.
Yeah.
We're gonna. Should we hack it? Let's hack it. Let's try. This is either going to go really good or really badly. This is okay. So if anyone gets this, you're upgrading your Flutter project, and you get some weird Flutter errors. It says you need to apply all this like changes and stuff. In this case, there is a lovely migration guide, which if you follow it appropriately, it takes you only a mere 10 hours to fix. No, it is that kind of thing, right? Like you need to understand Android. There's a whole bunch of stuff. If you don't have the time or inclination and you don't have many customizations to the Android code, you can do some cheap tricks, which we're going to do right now. And one of them is
blow the folder away. Blow the folder away.
In fact, I'm going to do it in here. I'm going to say move Android to Android old, Flutter, create dot platforms Android. There you go.
That's serious cheating. But you know,
but it has actually said here.
Press the big old reset button.
The configured version of Java Detector may conflict with Gradle version of your new app. This is really helpful. You keep your AGP version.
Replacing one problem with
another. I know.
No, but they give you. But look, they give you the code like Flutter config and.
Yeah, so I can tell Flutter where the particular version of Java is. So it's saying that to keep the default AGP version of 8.3, download the compatible version of Java, which basically has to be greater than 17 and less than 21. That's very. So basically, it needs to say that I need to use 73, right? 17. This is nuts. Or alternatively, you may wish to configure your Java version and update your Gradle version. I literally went through all very recently, but that's okay. That's okay. We can fix this. We have the power. So basically, it's saying that you can update your Gradle version by running this, and it's saying here that you need to compatible Gradle versions range in the range of 8.4 to 8.7.
Hopefully, you have.
And if you're watching and you're not getting everything he says, rewatch the video and slow the speed down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I love you.
Or just join the group of all of us that hate Gradle and the whole JDK and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's
We're gonna see what happens.
Over time. Always hate it.
Yeah, you totally do. And I do learn from Simon. I'm not saying I don't. He blows me away. because he's the
I-
Flutter Whisperer, and it just comes.
It's not that. I think it's the difference of that. I've been dealing with Gradle for like 10 more than 10 years.
Yeah.
About 12 years. So like all of this is like, once you've been doing it for that long, it's like you know about like what it means and what it's all talking about and everything else.
Anytime I see the word Gradle or Cocoa Pod, I just start screaming.
Why is it that there's so many build systems and not one of them can do it right?
Yeah, because they all have to be flexible to adapt to all sorts of abstractions.
It's actually that same problem that we have. But it's building, people. I don't know what it's building, but apparently it's building. I may stop it and try again in a minute. But it's doing it. It's doing something.
Yep. Errors. XML parts.
Anyway, whilst it's doing that, we'll continue this. This is the whole problem that build systems have is that they need to be really flexible and very what's the word? Well, very like flexible in the way that they approach, but also flexible in the way they can have plugins and everything. So basically, you've made this really highly flexible system that can change all the time, but equally you don't want it to break. Like the two things are can't coexist with each other. So
it's like saying I want a house made of Lego.
Exactly.
No, you don't. But it'd be so flexible. I could add a wall. Yeah.
Is this turning around in circles? What is this doing? Side by side. This is installing like 5 different versions of.
You had me at XML. Well, you couldn't parse XML. I was like, oh god, there we go. We're already off the rails.
Here we go.
Somewhere.
Here we go. What we're doing now? Apparently, JNI 0.7. I've got like some old. This is, by the way, this project just sits around getting dust. Yeah. So just let everyone know. JNI 0. This is like ancient, I think now.
So this is yours, not the person you were talking about?
Oh no, they didn't have. They just posted a line of code. So one line of code, a file. 1.14.
Okay.
So like we could do actually here's a good point. Like let's do upgrade. And if we do pub outdated, we could. Do you know what? Actually, I'm not going to do this, but this is the way you can then like resolve direct dependencies. So these are the direct dependencies that are upgradable to what's the resolvable. So it's saying here that archive. I've got archive in here. So that's a direct.
For those of you watching at home, never do a pub upgrade unless you've done a git commit of what you have already.
Yes. Always. Well, that's just good development. Always commit.
As you're going, anytime you make progress, commit. Anytime you make more progress, commit more. Yes. Even if all the commits
that's actually really good that you said that, because my bad. I didn't do that recently. But then it came back. I didn't do it, and it was
not good.
Hence I had to start over again. But
I especially have found a problem, and I've gotten bitten enough times that I make some changes, I get something a little bit better, and I go, oh great, but all I need is one more feature. And then in adding that one feature, I blow it up somehow. And I can't roll back to that intermediate level that was sort of, at least I made some progress. So
think about it. Think about it from my point of view. By day, I'm a SQL developer, SQL and Tableau. I mean, I've worked with SQL for over 20 years. But if I'm making changes, because in certain places, I didn't have version control yet, which we do now, but I would file save as, and I put a number after each of them so I could get back. But then I come to Flutter, I go back, I'm getting back into Flutter, which I have missed immensely. And it's like, oh, right, I have to do these things. And that's how I got bit, was because day job, I'm over here doing SQL, Tableau, and stuff like that, and I can number my files. And now that we've got GitHub, I'm doing it better. But anyway,
I I remember adding all those names to other names like save best,
Oh,
works.
you should see. So you should see what. So Simon and I were working. Well, he's debugging stuff. Well, so
Yeah,
we're in the process of working on. Like, I have this diagram because I've been in the.
yeah.
Of course, I've been working on converting a game that I did, and I'm using a VGV template.
Mhm.
Well, I love VGV. If you're out there, I'm not. I love you guys, but their templates can be very overwhelming, especially
Mhm.
coming from what I do for a day job and trying
Mhm.
to figure out how everything flows. And we found this package called Lakos. It's been awesome. It helped me see all this, didn't understand. Then I also got my iPad out and I'm drawing it in my
Yep.
notebook just so I can see. And it's a process when you've been out of it. And then my dogs
I've,
are barking, so I don't know if you can
I've,
hear them. I should mute.
I hear the dogs. I was thinking, is it something Simon's doing because he's talking
No,
about dogs? And
no,
I
my
didn't
neighbors
get that out if the
are
dogs are leaping off the screen.
no,
Yeah.
my neighbors evidently have a delivery being happening, and this is going to be going for a while, so I'm muting.
Yes. Yes. There we go. Oh, and I like this. Yes. Final one, final two, final for real. Yeah. 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 Definitely. Definitely true. Uh, yeah. The change control days prior to change control. All the copies, and especially like the date. I learned to put the date and things, so I'd copy it to foo 11/22 whatever, right? So you have a dated backup. Oh man, I've
Well,
had
that's so
man.
the stuff that, with the commands, and I couldn't remember exactly what we're doing. So I'm sitting there going in terminal or
Yeah.
and going back. And so what I did is I'd rerun them, and then I would take the command and put it in the name. So then as I'm looking at each of the different images, and then oh, this is how I did it. So when I need to go back and do it again, I know what command gave me the diagram that I'm looking at.
Right.
And but yeah, so I have, like for example, one of my Tableau reports, it's like, okay, here's the ticket number that I'm working on, here's the changes I made, and it's version 1. And then if I save another one, I have the exact same thing, version 2. Then if I make a tweak, I'll put something after it, like, oh, here's what I changed. It's
2A.
faster.
Oh
I have
yeah.
so many files. And then of course we have a data retention policy, so I have to go back and clean stuff up.
So I've got PSQL, and I don't do some regular monthly maintenance commands on a database I have, and I have
You have what kind
comment
of SQL? What did you say?
Postgres.
Okay.
And so I have Postgres, and it has a command history,
Mhm.
and I have some regular maintenance commands that I do. I put comments on the command line so I can find it by doing search for that comment of the commands that I've executed against this database. So yeah, my command history is commented so I can repeat
I'm
commands.
going to have to interrupt you guys for a second. I just want to show people this. If you ever get into this problem, the page you actually wanted to have posted in the chat is this page here. It's the Android AGP. So if you see AGP in the logs below, it stands for Android Gradle Plugin. If those that didn't know what AGP stands for, it's not the original graphics card standard. This is something completely different. Anyway, and on the release page of the new versions, it talks about what you need to change, which is like the com.android.application side, your plugins architecture, with the new plugins dependencies with the new version. And then down here, this is the critical bit you need to understand. This is the version of Gradle to the version of the plugin that's supported. Without this chart, you will be lost. Okay. So basically, the way this works is over here, I'm going to go look at the Gradle plugin wrapper. That this dictates the version of Gradle that your application is going to use to build. And then that's the minimum Gradle version over here.
Why are those not the same numbers? Why are they off by 1 or 2 or 3?
I know that's what's really annoying. No, it's literally just because it's literally, but this is what's really messed things up. It's just by coincidence that these numbers did this. And that's what really is really frustrating about it, because They're just
Oh my
different release
God.
numbers. Look, they're just different release numbers. They just so happen to be coincide so closely, and it's what's really messed people up. So that's why they've implemented this table. So
That's
this is talking about the Gradle version of 8.4, which is what which is what it's using. Minimum support 8.4. I put 8.3 in the log. So if I want to use a newer version, now in the original error warnings I had, which I didn't copy them down, it was like 8.7 we can go up to. So if I wanted to put 8.7 as my Gradle version, I need my plugin version to be 8.6 or 8.5, right? So if I put 8.7 in here, then I go into my Gradle file. If I can find it, plugin, it's the bottom settings. Here it is. Com.Android Gradle, and this needs to be 8.6. Okay. Why they couldn't align on it, and I think it's literally just coincidence, as far as I understand, that these numbers are off. But it's the one thing that really messes
This
people.
is similar to the
I have to be
Flutter
honest.
version, which is the Dart version, right? So
Yes,
the Dart
it's a very
version
similar thing. Yeah.
and the Flutter goes
So
up.
what's really nice about this, though, I have to say, is at least those warnings actually existed now inside the terms of the Flutter tool run. It actually gives you the information. Like for the past month or so, when there was new versions of Android Studio that released with new versions of Java, which were incompatible with Flutter. So they had to like rally this new sort of set of changes around the base template and stuff. Yeah, it's been pretty complicated. Anyway, hopefully, cross your fingers, everyone. We finally get a build going. This is good. These are warnings. This is not so good. Oh, that's a warning. Apparently, it's a warning. It says warning. It's basically saying it's probably been deprecated or something. Yeah, warning removal. They're going to remove this call. It's been deprecated and marked for removal. So basically, next version of Android is probably going to delete this API. Let's continue.
She's stealing the stream by bringing a dog on.
Oh, we hang on. She's getting attacked by a dog.
Yes.
There you go. Steph, come back. Right. Hey, look. Guess what? It's running. Yeah.
Oh, no way. Oh, there's your register.
The final incantation of magic version numbers worked.
Yes.
I'm also going to just now go. So now I've done that. What we've now got is an Android folder and an Android old folder, because that's why I renamed the old one too. So these two are not necessarily mutually exclusive, right? There's an overlap between. I wouldn't have to do this if I had this checked in. I don't have this checked in. This is like local on my machine. So I'm bad, Simon, sure. But the point here is if I go into here, I can just check to make sure that anything I had in here, this is all the default stuff. I just want to check that I didn't do anything custom for any of the little examples. No, this is all standard. So I'm going to delete that Android folder. But if you had a mark directory, good. For example, if you'd had a change of icons for your app and you just did the Flutter create.android, you would have wiped out your icon changes. So you might need to run Flutter launcher icons again to regenerate them. Or if you're using, and we just said this earlier, if you checked in your code into a repository, you would open up your Git repository tool, like GitHub Desktop.
Which you didn't just do.
Well, I didn't have it checked in to do, right? But if you did that, then what you could just do is say, oh, I want to keep those icons, but I want to change this. And then, if it all went wrong, you could revert it as Ian just said. So anyway, okay. So we got we can delete that, and we have, since I upgraded the packages, we have one error in our project. Well, just one. Yeah. Okay. JObject from ref. Apparently, JNI doesn't have from ref anymore. So that's JObject is. Hang on a minute. I think this might be my fault.
JavaScript.
No, this is a mix. This is used in.
Oh, JNI.
Ignore me. Hang a minute. Reference. From reference. There you go. Call method by name. Why don't we have call method by name? Right,
Jenny,
let's
who can I turn to?
do this.
Do, 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 do. I'm gonna get it demonetized.
Really? You don't have any call method? This can't be right. Okay. Well, we're not here. Do people want to care about this? I don't know. Half of me wants to like fix this. The other half is like move on. How I'm a bit confused right now. Get current activity returns a J reference. Sure. Like,
how did this break? It broke because you changed the Java version?
I updated the package, and I'm just debating about like because I had to update the package to get to build. Now, I don't actually need this to run this example, and that's why I'm saying I could just leave it right now. But I'm also equally, I want to know why it's broken. It's got under my skin.
Yes.
Let me have a quick look here, and then I know we'll get back to our usual program.
Are you kidding? This is our usual program. We're always like this in good ways.
Oh, I've missed this.
You're welcome back anytime. You know.
I know. I'm multitasking because I had a presentation I did for my interview, and I have to add some things to it to send it off to them. So if I'm looking this way, so I'm multitasking here. And
That's
right now
fine.
you're doing stuff with Android that I don't know.
Yeah.
I go to Simon when I need help with
My
Android.
eyes are glazed over too. My eyes are just glazing over, so that's fine.
Yeah, it's.
I don't need to know any of this stuff ever. I just delegate this to Simon
Call object method A
and other people that are smarter than me about this. I'm perfectly fine to specialize what I know, and I don't have to know everything. It's been handy to know a lot of things, or at least where to find a lot of things.
It's annoying me.
I've never demanded knowing everything. Not been a motivator for me.
Okay, so I have a question because I don't know enough about the Android side of the world. So if you were if your Flutter and Dart and all of that, if everything was up to date and you had started that, would you still be having this problem?
Yes, because there's a problem with the
Why?
package. It wasn't about Flutter,
Oh,
right?
it's a package.
So basically,
Okay.
what happened here? In fact, let's go do it the proper way. I'm just like looking around the code. Let's read the manual. Right, that's the way you do this.
Oh, okay. So
went
it was
073 to 014 and skipped a bunch of steps.
Oh, gotcha.
In here, we can read what actually changed. So we could look
So
at
learn
like,
from Simon's mistake. When you're making that big a jump, make sure you go back and look at the package to see
and
what's
here they
changed.
say at 080, they said break in change. J object reference now returns a J reference. From ref constructor is now called from reference.
Wow. It's right there in black and white.
J class. The following JNI access methods have been removed. Call method with args.
Yep.
Great. Use the J class. Instead, use the J class API. That's the way you do it. Okay. So basically, find JNI, find J classes. Okay. So now we find the J class for a name. And once you have the class, you can then access the methods on that class, is what they're saying. Okay, so let's try it. I don't know. I think I actually end up doing that myself because there wasn't actually like a whole thing for that. But let's have a look here. So basically, the idea is, where is it? He says, rotation manager. Activity. Right. So I need the J class for an activity. You'd think that would be a final activity class.
Cool.
Well, that's kind of annoying because it's going to be like Well, we can do it. You can do it.
You can do it. Yes. 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 That would be as Ed McMahon used to say all the time, Johnny Carson. Yes.
You're dating
All right.
yourself.
No, I'm carbon myself. I'm carbon myself.
What I'm doing d.android.com.
You can only count my age by the half-life of the decay of my brain.
We're going to carbon date you, is that what you're trying to tell us?
Yes. Yes. Nobody will carbon date me.
So
Oh.
Android app activity, that's what I care about. Right.
I only get silicon dates.
Okay, so now we have the activity class. We should, I guess, this is going to give us a J object reference to the activity. So late final is this. Apparently in the constructor, we call activity. Oh, we do a use so that it's freed up afterwards, our reference. Actually, that could be left in there. Good measure. Ignore me. So activity class dot static method ID, instance method ID, name, signature. Okay, so that's what these two fields are. Name and signature. Cool. And what this is saying is, go on, sorry. So this is, so if anyone wants to know what this code is about, this is accessing Android API straight from Dart. It's called JNI, Java Native Interface. So it should now be able to use this method ID in some way. Call on JObject. Okay, there you go. And then we're basically saying call this function on activity with no arguments. That's what we did before. And the return type apparently is a JObject. Return type callable. Give me a break, people.
Who designed this wacky thing?
I know. Like, I'm like, what?
Is this people in Mountain View? I guess this is Mountain View code, right?
Yeah. Well, this is well, yeah.
Core team.
This is all about the fact that JNI and the interface between it is just quirky, right?
Yeah.
I want to call this method. It wants a return type that isn't a type; it's a callable. So I need a JObject type. So what this actually wants is this. Is that what you're trying to tell me? But this is a J. Okay, it sends a J type, which is not J callable. What the fuck is it? Okay, it's like this internal thing in JNI land. Let's do this. What implements J callable? So something bloody does, right? Okay, J byte type. I see J boolean type, char type, short type, int type, long type, float type, void type. Do you know what's really annoying about this? Is I don't want any of those. But hang on a minute. How? I think I get what's going on here. Basically, we're not going to touch this right now. That's what we're. So basically, what this is complaining about is that I need this is the return type, this Android view display. I need to declare that as a type that the J9 system, the J9 package can understand, so that it knows it can instantiate the right thing and link it up to the right parameters. To be honest, I can't be bothered right now. So I'm going to do what every good programmer does, and that is comment stuff out. There you go. To do. Fix me.
Fix me. Yes.
It doesn't work. No, let's not put that. Let's needs converting from J9 063.
Okay, that's new for me. So you can put fix me instead of to do, and it shows up as a to do.
Yeah, well, that's up to you. That's what I've declared inside my IDE. I think that's the default.
Oh, okay. I've always used to do, so I wasn't sure. Okay, sorry.
IDE
For
actually
interrupting.
3 or 4 keywords like that, like fix me, to do,
Okay.
latency or something. There's a short list of things.
But you can actually declare them self. So if you go into the problem section here, there are filters, not problems. What I'm talking about to do.
It's okay. I can look later.
No, I want to show you for everyone that's watching. So there's edit filters, okay. And in here you can set up your own. So I've got note formatter, fix me. You can set up regular expressions, and then you can denote what they actually are. So you can tend to highlight the code in different colors.
Okay, so I'll go back and watch the video, but there. Thank you.
It's to do, and then the filter icon, edit filters.
Thank you.
Or you can find it somewhere in the settings, I'm sure.
You make them blink. I know blink was such useful stuff on the web back in the 2000s.
You trying to just give people epilepsy now? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Not blink. How about a little marquee around the outside? That'd be kind of cool.
I'm going to go make a note in my Ask Simon notebook.
Up to page 72 already?
No.
Talking about that, let's hang on. I want to see something you said about the highlighting here. Let's have a look. Background, foreground, error stripe mark. There you go. Effects, bordered, strikeout, dotted line. So if I do bordered,
not a marching ants though. There's no marching ants.
And will that? Hang on. I don't know. What does that do?
I got him even further down the rabbit hole. I'm sorry.
So your fault. Everyone blame Randall.
I don't.
So you went to do, and then okay.
Okay. Paste.
Little
icons. Little icons.
This is foreground. So background. Let's just do a really good background here and do underweaved. Apply. Okay, so it does actually change it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not even going to go there right now. There you go. Right. Moving on with our lives. Right. All right. Back to Solomon's problem. Sorry, Solomon. Are you still there? Is he still alive? Did he turn into a zombie? Right.
People are letting their dogs watch this now. They just walked away.
The dogs are like, I want this app.
Yeah.
No, they're enjoying the sun, which we haven't had here for a while.
I know. Yeah. The worry I have is going to come through my window right now.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this thing. Right, so it's running. So we press register. There we go. So on screen 1, and there's our progress bar. And a horrible red button that we're definitely going to change the color right now to something else. There we go, amber.
Colorblind safe colors. I really want people to do that.
Right. Dog name is going to be Fred. He's male. His breed is a Dachshund. Years. He is 12 years and 3 months.
Ignore Simon's spelling for it. Go back and look at my comment that has the spelling for it.
I don't care. Oh. Right, weight. He's 300 kilograms. He's a big dog.
Ideal.
He's definitely overweight.
300 kilos.
We got only information.
You know what would be really cool? What would be really cool is if you had a database that had the breed and the ideal weight and it would just automatically tell you if they're overweight or if they needed to gain weight.
So whoever's doing this at home can listen.
Okay, so I filled out the form. It filled out all the data, and then I hit OK.
That's great.
And our data didn't change. Dun dun dun. So that was the first thing. So basically what this comes down to is actually one of data flow. So we're kind of popping up. So we're on our home screen and we want to launch a flow and have it return back the updated data. So what we can do is we're going to take out our registration data from the home screen here. Well, leave it in there blank. And what we'll do is make that variable. And then when we do the navigator of push, what we're actually going to do is say underscore date. We're going to do a couple things here, actually. We're going to say final result equals await navigator. That's the first thing. And then if mounted at the end, just in case, unset state underscore data equals result. So what this means is from our route push of dog info page is that we're going to return back our registration data.
Do you need to push with a type? I need to push with a type.
Yes, we do. We need.
Right.
It's not, but it will be automatic. I haven't got there yet. That's not anyway. So this will do that kind of return back. However, the problem here is more about one of, I'm going to comment this out for the moment. I'm going to come back to this. The real problem here is that the information page is being replaced, which means that it's not going to return a value. It's being replaced. And at the very end, what you're actually doing at the very end of the flow, where is it? Down here at the bottom, is that you recreate the homepage. Why are we recreating the homepage with what we just pushed? If I now go back, I can go back to the screen before that. I should not be able to do that, right? So this flow I've already been through, and I'm back to the original homepage. So what we actually want to do here is we want to push one route, and then we can have our pages flow inside that. That's one option. It also means that we get to do some other interesting things, like you've got the progress bar. The way that you're handling the progress right now is you set the progress per page, and you kind of hand it as a parameter to each page, which works, don't get me wrong, but you don't change it, right? Each page can it'd be nice to have it animate up as you go, right? Have it be consistent. So what we're going to do is lift up our state. That is the key concept here, lifting up the state. So first of all these screens don't have to be passed a variable for the registration data. They can go fetch it from the parent. That's one thing. The same goes for the current progress. Equally, why do we need to display why does each screen have to have its own separate scaffold? They could be the same widget. And there's other things to do there. So what we're going to do briefly, a really quick way of doing this, we're going to create a stateful page, and we're going to call this dog registration. Registration. And then what this is going to do is this is going to be the top level. So we're going to hide our column here. So it's this piece here, right? Actually, let's grab that. Chuck that in there. So I have our app bar. This is title. And then padding. And inside the padding, inside the column, we have our linear progress bar. And then we have whatever the content is for the page, right? So now we can do a, let's just put content here for a second, right? Now, what we can now do is have the dog registration have its registration data that you're trying to build up as you go. And it's also going to have progress, not going to be final, this is progress. And it's going to be, I don't know, 0 at the beginning. Now this is 2.5, I think was the beginning value, right? So now we've got our state.
Why is progress on line 164 highlighted in red?
because this is trying to get it from the widget, and we didn't pass a parameter in. This because I copied
got
this
it.
code.
So it's just okay. Cool. All right.
So now I fixed it. That will use this progress inside here. And we're going to add a route for this dog registration. There you go, dog registration, and it's going to be private. And this is going to return a registration data object from the route. And it's not going to need any parameters. So, okay. So now dog registration, if we try and launch that here, we can now set our state for the return response because our route says it returns back with it. This is because it can be null. So, and result null, or in fact, or we could do. No, this is not equal to null. Right, let's not go there. Right, there you go. So now what's going to happen is we go back to our dog registration page. If I restart the app now and click the button, there's our blank screen, right? That's our template. So now what we want to do is be able to, any page that we load, change the title. We want to change the page that we're loading, and we want to have the flow in which we go through the pages. This sounds more complicated than it is. So first of all, we need to fix up each page so that it can be put inside here, and we need to have the flow. So we'll say pages is a set of widgets, right? And we're going to have dog info page first. Let's make that a constructor now. We're going to get rid of the parameter for data and progress. We don't need those anymore. We don't need the route anymore. There's our dog info page. And dog info page, where are we? It's...
You're sort of getting rid of the router here now, right? You're just going to be using the router.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we bring this widget on the screen, we're going to use this title, and this is just going to be a column. So we're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of this, which is just really annoying, but we'll do it manually. Why not?
So this would be close to a tab bar, right? If you actually used a tab bar, it would be pretty close to this.
Similar. All right, so there's our. So now we need to know how are we going to get this data, and we need to share the same data without pushing it around. Well, this is pretty straightforward. What we can do is here's our data object in dog registration state. So what we need to do is get that. So during our init state, we could pass it in, and we can pass it in through construction, or we can have it fetch it. So in this case, when this starts up, we can have a registration state. Get the state directly. Might be nice. So we call this registration state late. And then we're going to do a getter on here, which is registration data, which goes to the registration state and picks up there. This is just like a little helper method. So now when we start up, we want our, let's do it in here. We'll say registration state equals context.find ancestor state of type. And we need to give it the state that we want and make it not nullable. In fact, that's implied because it's already the state. I'll put that on there actually anyway, because I think it makes it more clearer. Once we found our registration state, when our info page is landed, created on the screen, we also want to make sure that we're setting the title. So we'll make a setter which sets the title, right? So create setter, there it is, value, and what we'll do is we'll have a value, we'll have a final title equals value notifier string, and it's empty to begin with. That is going to be const value title that we put in here. It's not going to be const anymore. And instead, we're going to have a value listenable builder. And that's going to listen to title. And when its value changes, we want to return new text that contains the value which was come through from the builder, which is a string. So in short, now, if this value notifier changes, it will automatically rebuild the title. And there we go. We can do that. Right. Right. This is a quick little thing there. Right. So now let's go back to this. So now this pattern of we have registration date, we have date, and we want to start. We're going to use that on multiple screens. Why are we copying and pasting that? We don't want to copy paste that. So we create a mix-in, and we call this registration wizard data, right? Something like that. On state of type T. Now we have to pass the T across because this is typed, the state widget here, and it just means that it's typed to anything of that extends a stateful widget. And now what we can do is we can actually take this piece here, chuck it in our mix-in, and what is it? I'm going to use a public API. I mean, we shouldn't need to make it public, but I'm just gonna not worry about that right now. Where are we? Yeah, we'll use make it public. Just to there you go. Happy now? Good. And then we can also add in here string title. So this little mix-in, what we've done is we've lifted out that bit of functionality, which gets the registration state, which lets you get the data at any point, which has a title. And now if we remove it from here and we apply that mix-in with what I call it, registration wizard data. That's not really nice. Dog registration wizard mix-in. Yeah, maybe well. Right. Of that instead. Now this needs a title. Oops, it jumped me down. Apologies. Back up. So now we need a title. And that's going to be dog information. All right. Let's change all these widget datas to just data. All right, so now when it comes to pressing the next button, we want to continue to the next screen. Well, guess what? We can now actually, in our mix-in, add a continue function. So we can just say void next page, continue. Let's put it next. Go to next page. Go to next page. And that's going to go to the registration state and tell it to go to the next page. This is just forwarding on the call, if you will. We'll create that method. And we can do set state. And we're going to have our current page index int. There, let's say. Right.
It still looks like you're inventing half of what a tab controller does.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's very similar. But this is the point, right? Like we're going through. Also, there's other things that you'll see in a minute what we're doing here. This is actually quite unique. It's not the same. But
okay.
All right. So now we've done that.
I'm just getting the analogy though, and that it's like a tab controller would hold
very
like,
similar.
all the tabs and then have an index, and then you have ways of advancing the index. So it's similar.
Yeah. So now when you press the function, press the button, it goes to the next page. So the wait page, guess what? This is really, now we don't have to do a lot. We've done it once. We don't have to do it again. We're going to get rid of these parameters. Don't need any of this. We don't need our app bar or scaffold. We need the title. So let's make this stateful so it matches the other one. And with what was the mix-in registration? I forgot what it is now. Dog Word registration wizard mixin. That sounds about right. Grab the title. App overrides. Bring get title this. And now we can get rid of the scaffold, the padding. We'll keep a column. And this is the next screen. We don't need the linear progress because that's in the parent. So now again, next screen, when you press the button, it's go to next page. And so next page, let's quickly do this. 2 seconds, do all this stuff. And bring up our, let's get our own information out.
One of the keys is that we now have a common object that's accessible through the get parent widget of exact type or whatever for all of these essentially child widgets.
If there's any questions, feel free to ask questions around the code or anything else that you're interested in this technique. Or
there's still quite a few diehards that are watching the show or are having their dog watch it, one of the two.
Right. So go to next page.
We'll take ratings either way. Dogs watch just fine. Just fine.
Right.
It's the old story that one of the Nielsen families that was used to rate U.S. television once left the TV on for their dog, and all of a sudden all the soap operas all day got a much higher rating since the dog was now all the shows.
Well, this address page isn't actually, it's a dialogue, which is really weird to me. Like, let's just call this address and confirmation. Oh no, this is the dialogue it pops up with, sorry. Okay, okay, so this needs to be fixed. Let's fix this first of all. This alert dialogue comes out here. And we're gonna make a class, what do we call this? Confirmation, registration, confirmation dialogue. Yeah, in fact, that's the first thing we're going to do, because that's
thinking about a material app builder for this or a shell route.
right. That's better. And then if you're hitting OK, you're doing a pop on here. And then our registration dialog confirmation. When we want to show the confirmation, we are actually showing this dialog with the data. Data. And then this has like an await, a future again. So we make this async. And await the dialog. And once they pressed OK, we want it to go to the registration state and say, go to next page. Which, in effect, being the last one, will make it pop. And we'll make it do that finish. All right, so now this is, what was it? String get title. Nearly there. Last bit.
So we have a question too. Can you explain the cost of using this approach rather than just passing the instance?
Cost of using this approach rather than instance. I mean, it's not really about. It's not really about passing anything around. Like there's no real cost difference at all, right? I mean, it's more about It's more about the other side of it, the other management of how you want to flow through the UI and the state management. We're managing the state of this, right?
Yep.
All right, so that is all those changes. Now, if we go back up to our main page, here's our progress indicator, and we want to go through the pages. So it's minimize this. We have dog info first, and what comes after that? The weight page, then the owner page, and then the address page. So to put those in there.
So one thing about doing it this way is also for maintainability and keeping things grouped and like they should be. So then if you've got to do an update.
Yep.
I mean, if you've got any sort of repeating code, that's a bad code smell, right?
Right.
That's what I'd say to the audience. Yeah. I mean, like, right. So now I've got all those in there.
Yeah, so by now I would have inserted an enum that had constructors for pages as one of the properties.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean,
and also, like, if this is an app that like you're going to put out there, you wouldn't have everything all in one file. You'd have each one of those pages are going to be separate, right?
They're all really short, though.
It depends on what you're doing, right?
Right. Now that I'm seeing the number of lines of code, never mind.
Yeah.
It's not like 6,000 lines of SQL code, which I don't even want to talk about.
Ugh.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Horrors of that. Oh.
And it's as optimized as it can be.
18 way joins. Yes. Yes.
Right, come on, people. Right. Okay, so title will change. Now we need to make sure the title changed appropriately. So we need to make sure we load the right page. At the moment, I put content. So now we can load up the right page based on the page index into the screen. So we need to wrap that in a expanded. Make sure we get things right. There we go. All right. Yeah. So when we go on.
One file is enough for production. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Pull them all. Yes.
So the point here is when we load this up. Now the progress, we don't actually update the progress. So let's make sure that updates as well. So here we've got this progress indicator value. Let's do a similar thing here. Let's do final progress. We don't have to use value notifiers. It's just a bit nicer.
Where 2 items out of the 4 should just automatically give you 0.5.
That's what it's going to do. Yeah. But I wanted to show the update of it.
Sure.
So copy this there. Take out. Notify. There. There. This is double. Okay, so now the linear progress indicator is going to change when the value changes, right? Okay. And finally, the progress, when we go to the next page, we want to update the page index and we want to increase our progress. We could just add 0.25 to it, I guess, for each page, but this is really a fraction of the whole. So we really just want to convert that to whatever it is. So we say the new page index is going to be 1 above. So it'd be page index divided by pages length. Sounds about right to me. Probably wrong.
Yep. Probably off by 1, maybe.
Right.
Because you're starting at a quarter, you're not starting at 0. So
I know that's going to be. Well, it'd be
just put 1 plus page index in the numerator. Right.
I know we're gonna do that, and
There's maintenance. Yes.
this needs an initial value as well.
You could just get rid of the progress number entirely and just compute it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do, but I'm trying to show. I'm just trying to show it like how you do this kind of thing.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, when we first start, we're going to update our progress value, and when we get next page, update our progress value. So let's restart the app
And watch it blow up.
Right. Are we going to see what happens?
Yep.
Register. Okay, that's a good sign. We have a
Bars the
form. It's partially filled. Let's fill it
Yes.
out. Fred again. He's a tiger.
A tiger dog.
It's just a tiger. I've got a pet tiger. It's not a dog, it's a tiger. Tiger
Eat a
stream.
cow.
Oh,
Eat a dog cow.
okay. Here we go. We broke it already. Cannot be marked as needing to be rebuilt because it's during build. Is that right? Yeah, during build. Okay. So what's happened here is, let's go down. We set the title, but that's actually setting that title during the first build, which during a knit state here, which it's just having a go at. So we can actually do that, and we can fix it. So we need to do that with what's called a schedule microtask. So it's easier for us just to do that in here. So we do set schedule microtask. And what this means is going to schedule this little function to run at the end of the current Dart cycle. Not cycle. Main thread loop, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Tiger, whatever. Tiger. 12.3. Oh.
Ooh.
Ooh. Well, we need to work out what back does in a minute, but yeah, that's good. Let's go 12.3. Continue. Well, the title's changing, so that's good, and our progress is changing, so that's good.
Yeah.
Wait.
Progress is reaching the right amount too.
Whatever. 267. He's overweight. My name is Simon, and email blah 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 blah.com, and street 12 Street in some place on over here. Finish. And there's all the information I entered. And if I hit OK, it returns back. And there's the information that we put into the form.
Wow.
So,
ship it
now. So let's just sort out let's do the last thing, which was the back navigation. So if I'm in the form and I go to the next screen, if I hit back, what is the expected behavior here? Is that going up and leaving registration? Quite possibly. Equally, is continue the right way we should do this, right? So should it be continue and back, like back and next, right? So I leave this to the viewer. I leave this to the viewer really, but one way of doing this in this case would be to have a leading in here, which is a back button. You can do that, and then the on press of the back button simply goes go to previous page, right? And we're doing a similar thing here. We'll have a function go to previous page, and if our page index is 0, well then we're going to do navigator of context, and we're going to pop null because we're canceling it. Otherwise, we're going to set state and update our progress by going back a page, right? There you go. So let's see if that works. This is a feature, yeah. So register, bread, whatever, breed, go forward, go back.
Wow.
There's an interesting bug.
It didn't
Bread.
say
1, 2, 3. Let's put a number in here. That shouldn't actually let me put something in there. Go back. So you see the starting values as well. Since the expectation of the original author, Solomon, was not to go back, it doesn't fill out the starting values on the form. So normally on these forms, you want to give a bit of freedom, because if people change their mind, they will go forward and back, filling out information. So what the problem here is that you have text form fields without initial data. So initial value should always come from the fields, right? So gender is correct, that's fine. Form field, initial value, data breeds, and where is it? Here, initial value, data. Was this years? That'll be toString, and initial value, data months. All right, so we'll do weight as well over here. I won't go through the whole form. Data weight toString, just show going forward and backwards. So if I restart the app now,
Solomon is thanking us for our work here.
so yeah, so now for dog named Fred, breed, whatever that is, right? And they're female this time, and they're 4. If I go forward, you can see net weight is already got a starting value for 1, 2, 3. If I go back, it's still, the form's still filled out on that screen, and go forward, and that's still filled out because we've got that initial value. You were talking about some who was it that said you can, and was it now your transition from one page to another is smoother than what I had? Yeah, you can actually transition this. You can actually have it do like an animation as well for the content. I mean, to be honest, that's really quick to do.
We're 3 hours and 15 minutes in.
All right. That's
Yeah.
Clock,
Really quick for Simon. I mean, you know, it could have taken, I don't know Solomon's level of experience. You know, it could take Solomon days. So yes, Simon is fast. Or
yes.
Yeah.
Let's make this really slow for our first shot of this. Actually, let's do this. The one thing about doing transitions like this is going to do like a fade transition by default, is that there needs to be a background on every page, which means we should wrap each one in a material. If they're not, you're going to get weird transparency kind of effect going on. In fact, I'll show you, and then I'll show you what the fix is. So we'll just use a animated switcher there. So if I go Fred and go next, that wasn't too bad. It's fading really slowly. You can, yeah, it shows like previous child and the new one. Yeah, so I think that the key here is if I go back, first of all, those curves are terrible. So curves, at least ease in and curves ease out. That should give it a little bit of a better overlap.
Down, easing down.
And let's, what was the other one? Yeah, material. Let's just chuck a material around each page. And I think that it won't be perfect right now. I've only got a certain amount of time, but you can actually use the animations package from the Flutter team. Because that's the one I don't think it is. Yeah, so this actually contains really nice transitions you can do for screens. Where are they? This one on the left here, for example. Make it bigger.
Do you want to share the link so they can have it for reference in Central?
Yeah. Anyway, so you can like implement the shared access transition to like fade between the one screen to the next. Anyway, where was that? Yeah, material. Let me just pop that in there. Material. Yeah.
Material.
Right. All right, where am I?
I'm material widget.
Right. Restart. Oh, yeah. We'll make it faster in a second. Right. Thread. Continue. It does seem to
Whoa.
be 1, 2, 3. Continue.
4 seconds, and it's probably taking 2 to go in and 2 to go out.
I think that is because the in-out should overlap and they're not overlapping. Let me just check something here. That was my mistake. Where is it?
Or Phillies.
There it is. Let's do this. Have an overlap, and then duration-wise, is way too long right now. So. I think that works if it's faster, right? So let's put the.
Yeah, it feels right.
It's hard, obviously harder on the screen for everyone watching to see this. Animations are.
The dogs will get sleepy by the duration. Nice.
No, that's too fast. You can have a fiddle around with with animations. Ship it. Yeah, exactly. We're over time, under budget, over budget, whatever.
We have the same 0 budget as when we started, so it's not bad.
Grab that, and we're gonna fork the original.
I can pay it. I can listen, multitask. That's awesome.
Yes, wonderful. The durations class, as opposed to the duration class. Is there a different thing called durations?
There's not inbuilt durations.
There's a duration package to make working with durations easier. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton, like you can do 1.s for like 1 second. And I don't know, I honestly don't see the point. I can just put in a number, duration milliseconds, this duration seconds, that. What's so difficult with that? Why do I need a package?
Oh, this is for formatting things, so it makes it prettier for formatting. Like,
yeah, but like, I honestly, I'm like, all right, then I'll have a little extension that with my common durations done. I'm just not seeing the reason to bring a package in, another dependency that can go out of date, that's got other issues that, that's me. Yeah, we'll use static variables. Yeah, perfect.
There's a marquee package.
Crap.
That's scary.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
This is, what do we call this? Wizard State Management. There you go. That's what I call it. And it is 26th of February.
You mean duration class, not durations. There's no duration. It's just duration. Yep.
Right. Update public gist.
Yay, cool.
Oh, edit. Pop it in the chat.
Yay. Ship it. It's done shipping.
Right. thank you everyone for joining us. It is great to have you here again another week. You can go, the link is in the chat if you want to go see the code and experiment yourselves. I guess we'll be here same time, same place next week.
165 hours from now.
Thanks for inviting me, even though I
Thanks, Steph.
contributed a little bit.
You
It is-
did. You did.
It is
Mhm.
shipped. It's shipped to Gists. That's how you ship it.
It's a
That's how we
just.
ship things here.
Say carefully. Just ship. Just ship.
Just ship.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Anyway, so there it is. You can go grab it. It's on the links in the chat. Thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you in how many hours, Randall?
165.
All right. See you then. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.